One Radio, where we're here in our downtown studios. And today I have one regular and one almost regular. So I got Steve Lopes and I got Charlie Perry.
Yes, yes.
So what's wrong? Derek couldn't make it because
Yeah, he came down with a case of the Lions losing
Lions lose.
badly.
Yes.
Badly.
So basically,
Still in mourning.
um, he has called out today, and he has stated that he had prior obligations today. So Derek, I hope your prior obligations are going well, and hopefully you're back next week. All right.
Who does Detroit play next week?
I don't know, but I'm sure he'll be back.
Raiders.
I'm
right?
sure he'll be.
Oh, yeah, Monday night.
He'll be back next week. But yes, so we're in the season basically where there are now all four sports are aligned with one another.
Very
Best
nice.
part of the and college coming right around the corner.
All four sports.
Yep,
So we
men's and women's college.
obviously we have Major League Baseball, which is the World Series is happening.
Tomorrow night.
So they're at the end of their season, but we have football, who's in the middle of their season, and we have hockey and basketball, which just started, within the last week. So it's pretty much a sports junkies wet dream, to put it lightly. So some topics that we're going to be talking about, obviously, the NFL. We're going to dive into the NFL, and we're going to talk about which loss was more shocking. Was it the Bills, San Fran, or Detroit? We're going to talk about that. And I know Steve's going to have a lot to say about that because his team was on the winning end of one of those losses. All right. Also, we're going to talk about now who's in our top five. It changes, right? From week to week, it changes.
Crazy.
It changes, right? So we'll talk about who we think should be in the top five rankings. Also, we're going to talk about the trade deadline, which is Tuesday
Names
at
up for
4
grabs.
p.m. A lot of things can happen within the next 5 days, and a lot can and will happen. Obviously, what will take place this weekend. So we'll see what goes on with that. Also, we're going to talk about obviously the NBA. NBA.
Back. Felt like last night was opening night because of all the
NBA.
games.
Yeah. So we got the NBA. It actually opened up 2 days ago.
Yep.
And
games.
last night was a slew of games, and there's a couple of games on tonight, I believe, too.
Milwaukee and Philly make their debuts.
Yeah. So we'll talk about the NBA, and we'll talk about we'll try to mess around with some postseason awards, as well as who we think may make the finals, as well as champions. So we'll talk all about that. Remember, phone lines are always open. 774-425-2631 is the number, and you feel free to call in at any time and give your point of view as to what you may think is going on. All right. So just stay with us on that. All right. So we're going to dive right into it. All right. We're going to talk about the shocking losses, right? We'll talk about the shocking losses first. Which was more shocking? Was it the Bills? The San Fran, or Detroit? What loss was more shocking? All right. We'll start with you, Steve.
I was surprised at the Patriots game, but not shocked because, like we always say, division rivals know each other.
Yep.
And that happened last year when the Patriots won in the snow or something like that. So that that surprised me, but didn't shock me. The other two games, a little bit higher frequency. Frequency. You know that vibe?
Frequency Live.
Yeah.
Frequency.
But I have to say, because of the discrepancy in score, how bad Detroit got beat by Baltimore. They both were healthy, and 38-6, and that they got beat on offense, and they got dominated on offense and defense. At least in the San Fran Minnesota game, that wasn't the case. Just Minnesota got ahead early and was able to hold them off, and they didn't make no mistakes. But 38-6 with two good teams, to me, that was the biggest surprise.
Charlie, what do you think?
Well, actually, Minnesota beating San Fran was definitely something that shocked me because I already kind of chalked it up. I said San Fran got this, should be two touchdown lead, final result, and so as I was roasting our friend over there in the corner, oh no,
Only till halftime.
and he got the last laugh, and but I didn't expect the Vikings to be that good, especially
I.
with all the people that they had
No
missing
Jefferson.
on their roster. No Jefferson.
No
Defense
Brent
was definitely playing up to par. Purdy was definitely. It looked like he was just chucking up a few balls, and which resulted in a few turnovers. But I didn't expect that at all. Patriots. I was actually thinking that it was going to be one of those games like with Miami and Philadelphia, where they had the last chance to do it, and something was going to happen. This particular game, division game, like Steve said, they pulled it out, and like I was in shock, expecting them to win. I mean to lose, and they end up winning it. So, and that's really about it. Detroit, I wasn't. I think their power was like turned off that game. They couldn't do anything right whatsoever. Um, that's it.
For me, I'll spotlight all three of the losses that we deemed shocking. So for me, the least shocking was the Baltimore Detroit game,
Mm.
because of the fact that Detroit, outside of the first game, they really have not played anyone. They've played a lot of team. They played within their division a couple of times, a couple of other weaker teams, um, in which they played, and I think they were far more superior than those teams. But once they got with a contender, as we've seen before, it's happened with Dallas. They were humbled. They were feeling themselves, and they were, quite frankly, they were humbled. For me, the San Fran loss to the Vikings, I think it's a case of San Fran doing the same, feeling themselves after the Dallas loss. They haven't been the same team. I also think that I think that maybe the Brock Purdy, all that about him being great, I think it's finally come to a head. He's finally lost, and he's got two losses in a row. And I think that there are some glaring weaknesses, especially in their secondary. I said it going into the Cowboys game. If the Cowboys could withstand the pressure of their defensive line, they would be fine, because I think the big weakness for San Fran is their secondary. If they're great on the outside. I think they're pretty stout up front. Two excellent linebackers,
Yes.
but I think the one glaring weakness with them is their secondary. I think if you can withstand, their edge rushers, you'll be fine. They'll be fine. So that's what it was for me. So my biggest concern was the Pats went over the Bills, 29-25. For me, it was, I'll tell you why, because I had Buffalo. Guys were laughing at me last week. I had them in my top five.
Laughing more this week.
Yeah, well,
Mm.
yeah, it's deservable. But so you think about it, right? The Pats were 1-5 going into this game, and clearly looked like one of the worst teams. I'd say three of the
Them in
bottom
Carolina.
feeder. Yes, and I for sure thought that this was going to be a get right game for Buffalo. Not only did they fall behind by double digits in the fourth quarter, they came back and they actually regained the lead.
Mm-hmm.
What was more shocking to me was how easily the Patriots moved the ball down.
True.
With 4 minutes to remaining in the game, and pretty much used up all the clock. And just on how. So let's put it into context this way. Mac Jones in his entire career has one fourth quarter comeback. All right. And it was against a very, I forget the team.
The practice team?
Yeah, it could have been the practice team, but had one fourth quarter comeback in his career.
Got to be.
And
not the Jets.
And I can't even remember who it was against, but he did it, and he did it in convincing fashion against a Buffalo defense that, albeit they had a couple of guys out, it shouldn't have been and looked as easy as it was. And like I said, 1-5 to clearly look, I could honestly make a case for the other teams, for you guys. Yeah, you had your best player out, but your team overall, I think, is better than the Patriots. And that was my reasoning for picking the Pats. It was just on that final drive, he just sliced through the Bills defense like they were water.
Yes.
There was no resistance.
No.
I mean, every time it came to a third and long, it was 14 yards, 13, 12 yards. There was no resistance whatsoever, all the way up until they scored. And it just I don't know. For me, it was like that was their chance to get right and to actually, especially within the division. Now they've got two losses within the division, and that's going to be tough to come back by, because of the fact that you could take a loss to maybe the Jets because they're ascending. The Patriots, not so much. All those other teams. Well, I shouldn't say all those other teams. I should say the Dolphins. I really don't, unless the Patriots pull another upset, I really don't see them making up that ground with that one loss, unless the Dolphins, have a kicker game where they suffer the same fortune, losing to a lesser opponent. I just don't see them and how they're going to make that up. That's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. So that for me was, that was the one which was most shocking to me. But by the way, we got to give Bill Belichick his kudos. He got his 300 victory. He now only trails Don Shula by 17 games for the most all-time wins from a coach.
And another rabbit he pulled out was that contract that just appeared.
Yeah. So that for me, that's what, I don't know. It hit a little hard, but it was good. We all had contrasting opinions. We all had different games. So it was good to hear how we all thought that, it affected, how each team was affected with the loss or whatever. So that was it.
Can I say something that
Go ahead.
Why does the best player on San Francisco is McCaffrey?
Yep.
Why do they go away from all the time? Every single week when it comes,
thinks he's too much of a genius.
Yeah, like you have a good offense, but why don't you give that guy his just give him the ball, man? Let him, even if you're dinking and dunking, I'd rather have that playmaker have the ball, especially with Debo's not around. You know what? Give it to him. But
I think they might have held back because he was playing injured. He played well. It didn't show.
Oblique?
Yeah, he had a strained oblique, and maybe they just didn't want too much of a workload. But when he did get the ball, he was effective.
Yeah, he ran that.
The
touchdown he had.
Right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
60
touchdowns, but he only had like 46 yards running.
He had one long one that he caught out the backfield. I want to say it was close to 50 yards. But it's so now you look at them, they're in flux right now because Brock Purdy's allegedly in concussion protocol. And just prior to, I was listening to the sports talk radio. They're saying that there's an outside chance that he might be able to play now. They were saying that they in practice he was throwing the ball around. He took some reps with the first team, which I think would be normal anyway. I don't think his concussion is to the point where, oh my God, I can't see light or whatever.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, exactly. So they're saying he's in concussion protocol, but I believe in order to play, he would have to I believe the concussion protocol is you would have to clear within 48 hours of game time by a physician, a neutral physician. Okay, so I don't know. It from the sounds of it, they were saying, it looks like he may play. They were saying the ex Jet quarterback there, what's his name?
Oh, Darnold.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they were saying that he was supposed to, there was a good chance that he may start, but it just goes to show you how from week to week we've witnessed, teams. Oh, they're the number one team. Then all of a sudden they get beat. That one's the number one.
Mhm.
They get beat.
Yep.
And so now it's like, which is bringing us to our new topic. How would you rank? What would be your top five teams in the league now? Obviously it would have to change.
I see Barry's up there.
It would have to change. Yes. So who wants to go first?
I got Philly, number one. I'll go with KC. 3 would be wow. I'd have to stick with. I mean, I like your team. I'm not going to rule them out. I like to keep them in the top 5 only because. So I give them 3. Dallas.
Being generous. You're being generous.
No, it's
Charlie wants a raise.
no.
He's being generous because I don't even have them in my top 5.
Yeah. So and I would have to go with
Who were your first two? You said Philly and who?
Philly, KC. I'll stick with Dallas. 4 would be Miami.
Even after a loss, huh?
I just think that Miami is going to fall apart like they do in November and December, and they're going to get 3 or 4 losses within November into December, somewhere down the line. So, and 5 could be anybody. So,
all right, so I'll give you mine. So mine in this order would be KC, Philly, Baltimore, Miami, and now San Francisco. I can't put San Francisco any higher because they're coming off of multiple losses.
So is Miami.
Yeah, but with what I'm going to say with Miami is, I think Miami's going to. I think actually Miami's going to do something in the trade in the trade.
In
deadline.
what area?
I don't know. I have a funny feeling that they're gonna do something. So for Miami right now, I think they're looking at this is our year to possibly make moves. I think the division now is within their sights. Clearly, you don't have to worry about the Patriots anymore.
Yep.
You got Buffalo, who's up and down. I heard a crazy stat on the quarterback there,
Josh Allen.
Josh Allen. Since 2017, he's yet to have back-to-back games without a turnover.
He is a gunslinger.
2017. Well, his problem is not only is he a gunslinger, but he runs the ball. See, he tends to fumble a lot while he's running. He tends to try to struggle for extra yards. That's where the extra person comes in, hits the ball, and he fumbles. We know that he's had a lot of problems with the turnovers, with the interceptions, but he's also in the turnovers with being a runner as well, being their number one runner. But don't be surprised. Don't be surprised if they try to make a move in the trade deadline. I would think that it would probably be somewhere in the line of defense, maybe an edge rusher. There's a lot of edge rushers out there that are out
with Bradley Chubb, but they got Jason Phillips too.
There's a lot of
healthy.
Well, this is the thing. So for them, I think they want depth just in moving forward.
Someone from the Commanders, the end.
Both of them.
Yeah.
Both of them are going to be available.
Yeah.
Yep. So there's
Chase Young and Montez Sweat.
Yes, there's going to be a lot of sellers that are going to be coming up in the trade. So who are your top 5, Steve?
Pretty similar to what you mentioned, except at the bottom. I'm going to put Kansas City in the top spot. then Philly, then Baltimore, then San Fran. Because when healthy and all cylinders, I still think they're a top quality team. But then in that 5th spot, I can't go with Miami. Can't go with Dallas yet.
WNB1 Radio.
This is the president calling for WNB Radio. How you doing?
This is the president?
President Donald Trump.
Okay, all right. So, and your point?
I'm just calling to say that I think I've been treated very unfairly in what's going on. How are you guys doing? What do you think about everything that's going on right now?
Are you looking to talk sports? We're not talking political.
Sports.
All right, yeah. We're not talking about Donald Trump. Thank you, but no thank you.
But the 5th spot, I'm going to put Cleveland.
Cleveland? Yeah.
They beat San Fran, who I already have in that.
No
list.
quarterback though.
Even without the quarterback, they're winning. I mean, Watson played last week, right? But he didn't play the week when they beat.
He's not going to play this week either.
Yeah, but
No.
they beat San Fran with Josh Dobbs, right?
Yes. He's not going to play this week either. But how far can it go?
Yeah, because they also don't have Chubb.
Eventually, that you're going
That
to
defense is keep.
well, yeah, the defense is keeping you in, in row, but eventually you're going to meet a stouter, someone who has just as stout as defense, and it's going to apply pressure for you to score offensively. Maybe not right now, but I'm not a firm believer in them until they can get the quarterback. And if you can get the quarterback in sync with because you got to remember, even when he went out, he wasn't even playing well.
Yeah,
it's the defense that's been, So to put it into context,
all they need is a game manager.
I sat the Dallas Cowboys defense because they were on a bye. I picked up Cleveland, and they gave me 22 points.
Yeah,
so that'll tell you something right then and there.
I think Cleveland's rated as the number 1 overall defense.
They are.
Sacks, turnovers.
So to my surprise, when I'm like, oh man, there's gonna be no defense. As soon as I put available, it said Cleveland. I was like, gotcha.
Yeah.
22 points. They gave me 22 points. They were only projected to give me 12 points. So it was like, they almost close to doubled up on points. But yeah, I mean, their quarterback, they've been keeping them in games. It hasn't been the offense. And it's crazy because the defense has been, they basically have done what the Cowboys did in their first 2 to 3 games.
Mm-hmm.
They've actually block punts.
Getting ready to say that.
Interceptions, fumble recoveries. They've scored on so many different ways to be able to keep their team, their team, their heads above the water.
Mm-hmm.
And it's it's crazy. But to his point, you can get away with it in the regular season. Come postseason, it might be a different story. But if Deshaun can come back and he can be in sync with the defense and have some resemblance of an offense, they will be a dangerous team. They will be a dangerous team, and look for them to possibly make a move in the.
And I was going to say, for a veteran quarterback as insurance, because they're going to play Dobbs right now because he's familiar with their system right now. But in case Watson can't be the guy, they might go pull a third guy to put on the bench and say, if we can't trust Watson, let's get us a grizzled veteran that can just be a game manager.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, we
Andy Dalton, somebody.
I was always wondering why Deshaun wasn't running, and now I know why. It's because of that rotator cuff. So because there was a lot of opportunities where he could have ran and he didn't. So maybe if I think he might be out another week, and it's PJ, right? PJ, what was his name? The one that's filling in.
Dobbs.
I
don't even know his first.
Well,
Josh Dobbs.
Joshua Dobbs.
Yeah.
Joshua Dobbs. I'm not sure.
Yeah. So but there's some guys that are stepping up, looking for the Giants. Tyron, was it Taylor?
Yes,
filling for,
the backup, yes,
and
the backup, yes.
he's done a wonderful job. They actually
He's a
look like
veteran.
a better. They don't look like a better team, but they're
Well,
doing pretty good.
the thing with him is he's 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 been in the league for a while. He is more of a a quarterback that's going to make things with his legs, but not
Mhm.
really look to force things.
True.
And with Daniel Jones, he tends to do that. Granted, he's a gifted runner and is not as a gifted quarterback. I mean, they must be like they're looking at themselves now. I can't believe we gave this guy $40 million.
Hmm.
Now you're stuck with him.
Yeah.
You're stuck with him.
It's new
Because
money.
let me tell you something. There's no one in the league that is going to give him probably anything over $30 million.
They could get rid of him if they ate $10 million.
Well,
Yeah.
Yeah.
what's the sense?
And that's
Um,
I was
Instead of
talking
paying
about.
40,
Well, no,
I'll eat
Yeah.
10.
but 10 for 1 year. But 10 for 1 year. You're stuck in that contract for at least 2 years before his value goes down. You know what I'm saying? They didn't give him all the money in one chunk. They kind of went over years. So they're stuck with him until next year's over.
Yeah, because their
Mm.
first year when he was
foreseeable future.
suspended was $1 million contract or something.
For the foreseeable future. No, I'm talking about Daniel Jones.
Yeah, Daniel.
I
For the
was still talking
foreseeable, no, not
Watson.
Watson. We're talking about Daniel Jones. There's no one in their right mind that's going to give him. He'd be lucky if he got $30 million. I think the Giants just overpaid, kind of panicked, and were false. They had false hopes,
Yep.
thinking that they were contenders because they had a powder cake schedule last
And
year.
they got that
And they got
fool's
that-
gold. Yep. At the end of
and
the season.
and they ended up winning a playoff game. They thought that they were going to actually be better than they were if they kept Daniel Jones, and it's definitely not looking that way. Definitely not. So yeah, he's paying up, and they had talked about the backup quarterbacks. A lot of the backup quarterbacks are playing well. This past week, and
Gardner Minshew.
yes, a lot of the backup quarterbacks came in, and they did some good things. So let's not devalue the backup quarterbacks because a lot of them that filled in played really well. They played really well. And in most years, you definitely wouldn't think that. You're like, oh man, backup quarterback, this is going to be an easy win.
Mhm.
But the guys that have been playing backup, they've been showing out. So you got to give kudos to them. You got to give kudos to them.
Remember when Dalton stepped up for what, one game?
Yeah.
He played well. So
yeah. All right. So in regards to we could talk. Is there anything else you guys want to talk about?
Well, one other thing I just wanted to touch on when we were talking about being surprised by the 3 games we mentioned. Do you think the Patriots or the Vikings hurt themselves more with the win because of the draft?
I'm going to say you guys, for the sole reason I think you guys because of the fact of your quarterback. Now it's like a double-edged sword. You want to win, but yeah, you don't want to fall on the sword because we all know what your quarterback, how well he does when it comes time for free agency. And if you look at the quarterback market, next year, other than the incoming class, what is there for free agents for quarterbacks? Nothing. Nothing. All the quarterbacks have been taken care of. Unless you're going to prize somebody out via trade. And it seems like every year he comes out in free agency, he doesn't have no one to battle with in free agency. So he's the sole player, and he's the one that's setting the bar. And more oftentimes than none, he gets overpaid.
And that's going to be a drawn-out process because he's going to wait to see what other offers come in.
Highest bidder.
Yeah.
There's no pressure for him. The Patriots, on the other hand, they've got a lot. They've got a lot of things that they need to address. I think the offensive line needs to be reshaped. I still think they need to go out and get more weapons.
Yeah.
On the outside, they don't have anybody that kills you. And to top it off, I did see Kendrick Bourne's name in possible trade rooms.
Mhm.
I wouldn't doubt it. For me, Bill, I think he would take him he would put him in a trade and package him maybe for maybe like literally a third rounder, maybe
Yeah, it makes sense because
contract.
yeah, and they just
That's
brought
what
up
he's thinking. Well,
the ex-Philly player Rieger.
yeah, right.
Rager,
Yeah.
so it makes sense.
So we all know Bill's his MO.
Mhm.
He likes to get rid of players before they hit that mark. Get rid of them while they're worth something.
Mhm.
And he's not a guy that's going to say, "Oh, I want a first rounder for him because he was a first rounder."
Yeah,
He'll take a third rounder.
yeah,
He'll take a fourth rounder because he firmly believes that I can put people into spots and they're going to produce.
I agree.
That's his MO. That's his MO. And I think, like I said, I seen Kendrick Bourne's name
Mhm.
mentioned in possible trades. And just look at who's the wide receiver that now plays for Vegas that played for the Patriots?
Jacoby Myers.
Jacoby, yep.
Look at the
Yeah.
season he's having, right? He's having a good season.
Without a great
Mhm.
quarterback.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Without a great quarterback.
And a number one wide receiver right next to
On
him.
his other side. Yes, exactly. So it goes to show you sometimes if you leave a not so great offensive minded team, such as the one the Patriots are on now, and you go to somebody that only has an average quarterback, you can show your natural talents.
Mhm.
Kendrick Bourne probably could go somewhere and he could help somebody. He's a tall wide receiver. And anytime you have a tall wide receiver, the 50-50 ball is always in play.
He made one mistake this year, and that was a fumble. But he's very, very consistent. You know?
And that was another guy that I was looking at. I was heads or tails with, on my bye week, whether I should pick him up or not.
Yeah.
I should have picked him up.
And it wasn't not picking him up because of what he could do. It was who was throwing him the ball.
Yeah,
Yes,
exactly.
that
I
was
can't
my
take you
reasoning.
because
Yeah.
you're a teammate.
That was my
Yeah.
reasoning. I was like, should I?
Yep.
He was the number one rated player, almost 10 points. And I'm like, nah, I can't see.
Mhm.
And I should have picked him up.
Yeah.
He had a pretty good game. But yeah, so I think you guys more so on the fact because of your quarterback situation. Him alone. Let's think about it. Let's think about the possibilities, right? Franchise. So you franchise him, he's going to get paid $45 million.
Everybody's
Yeah.
only making 40, I think. So.
Yeah, it's actually
$5
gone up.
million.
It's actually gone up. It's going to go up because each guy went over the other guy. So I believe the average salary for a quarterback now is like $43 million. So you take the top 5 and you average it out, and that's what he's going to get paid. So it's going to be at least $40 million.
But that gives the Vikings another year to figure out what they're going to do. If they're not going to finish low enough in the draft, there's not going to be a quarterback worth taking in the draft. So you're not going to win next year. And like Brian just pointed out, all the big names are signed next year.
Yes.
So who do we get? There's nobody out there better than Kirk Cousins that knows our system, that has a relationship with Jefferson, likes him.
Mhm.
Now, Jefferson's out. I have a sneaky feeling Jefferson might try to come back a little earlier than usual now because they're 3-4.
Yeah.
Interesting thing. Their next 8 or 9 games are very friendly. They played the hottest part of their schedule already, and they're 3-4. Last year we lost all the won all the 1-score games. This year we were losing them all. After Green Bay, who's very beatable, we start playing the lower rung of our schedule. For the next 9 games. If we go 6-3, 3 losses put us at 7, 6 wins put us at 9, we're over 500.
Yeah.
Now we're back in the playoff hunt again. And then you got Jefferson getting healthy, and the defense has been I was shocked with the defense against San Fran. But my number one thing in that game, we passed the ball 45 times, and Kirk, who's not very mobile, did not get sacked once against that vaunted pressure.
Yeah, he escaped quite a few of them.
3 or 4 times I thought he was dead.
Yep.
And then I was like, how'd he get out?
I was looking for those fantasy football points with the defense, and he kept running away. And I was like, man, I was up by 10, and I ended up losing by 2. So the Vikings had a tremendous game because they almost put that San Fran defense in the negative.
And Brian Flores he doesn't have a lot to work with, but he's doing the most with what he has. blitzing from different angles and different packages and putting people in position to win. The resurgence, and I don't know if it's the resurgence or the health of Danielle Hunter, but the guy's leading the league in sacks, leading the league in tackles for loss. People have to account for him and double team him again, so but his name was coming up in free agency too. So, I mean, in the trade deadline too, but I think Minnesota's going to stay pat, especially if they win this week.
Yeah,
If they're back to 500 after this week, they're going to stay pat.
A win changes everything.
That division is with Detroit coming back to the pack.
Yeah.
I haven't looked at Detroit's schedule. I know they should have a fairly easy schedule because they didn't make the playoffs last year. But Barry
that's routine, though, right? Not making the playoffs.
Yeah, if you don't make the playoffs, you're not getting a playoff schedule.
So
unless your division might have a couple of teams that make the playoffs, and the chosen NFC and AFC division are very powerful. But still, to offset it, they match you. You'll play
third best team.
Yeah. You won't. They'll cut it off to a certain thing. But if the teams are still good, you're not gonna be able to get ahead of that. But I like I told Derek when we were going back and forth, I said, yeah, you can rest assured that because of the fact that your team didn't make the playoffs this year, you could pile up on some wins and have, an elevated win total that truly doesn't match what, how it's supposed to be. So yeah, it's just one of those things that it seems like every single time that his quarterback is up for contract, he's the only guy that comes out and he's the bench. He sets the benchmark for it.
Yeah.
And as he just said, and we've been down this road before, right?
Yep.
So we've been down this road with Dak Prescott. Okay. It's not because he's the best quarterback. He's the best for the team, and he's the best available out there. So what are you going to do?
He's not going to be worth what he gets paid to anybody but Minnesota.
Exactly.
Yeah, and because
if Minnesota goes deep into the playoff runs, gets to the NFC Championship, that's worth the investment.
Yeah. So how can you literally get ahead of that? You can't. You have to look at it. Who's going to be the best available for you and who's out there, potentially out there. So what's the chances of them hitting on a rookie that's going to be able to do what he's doing now? Usually there's a learning curve, a couple, maybe a few years. Very few quarterbacks come out and impress right away. I mean, the game is just that much different. You don't see that anymore. You really don't. It's very rare. We've got CJ Stroud, who's doing it right now. But for the most part, it's very rare.
For other rookie quarterbacks are struggling, but look at that stat that's up right now.
Yeah, I put it up.
Yeah.
Vikes next opponents 16-25 combined. Falcons only 500 team or better.
The Falcons are the only 500 team.
Yeah.
Not exactly scared
of the 6 teams. So yeah, I mean, you got a favorable schedule moving forward.
definitely Barry's coming, right?
Yeah.
But even if we win 5 out of those 6, which would be impressive, but like we said, there's no big challenge. We'll be 8-5.
Yeah.
8-5.
No one in
on the verge of being 1-5 to if we were lost to San Fran and possibly lost the Bears.
You just can't have any stinkers.
And everybody's capable of it.
Because at this rate, so what's our record right now?
3-4.
3-4, and the Vikings are.
We are the Vikings.
I mean, excuse me. The Lions are
something in 2, 5-2. 5-2. Yeah,
5-2. So you got to make up 2 games. So your head-to-head becomes most important. Your head-to-head
week 15 and 17.
Your head-to-heads literally right now you can't afford to lose. At this rate, you have to take care of business within the division and just keep winning. But if you lose that head-to-head against Detroit, that's going to be a killer. Unless something happens, something unforeseen happens that we don't know about. But I always say it, and the guy, my guys always think that I'm crazy. You have to take care of business first in the division. All right.
So true.
And then the conference, because guess what? Out of conference doesn't count if you come to a tiebreaker.
Mm-hmm.
It goes division, conference. Well, let's put it this way: it goes division, head to head, then conference. All right, then out of conference if need be. I very rarely do you see that happen. I remember in I believe it was 1980. I'm showing my age here. The Cowboys needed to beat the Eagles by 30 points. And they actually got to the 30-point mark.
Yep.
It was they were winning by 32 because that was the tiebreaker actually came down to points.
Yeah.
So they had the exact same. They had the Philly had won the first game. They had to win the second game. They had the same. They had the same divisional record. They had the same conference record. So now it came down to points. The Cowboys had to win by 30 points because of the point differential. They actually were up by 32, and they only ended up winning by I think 21 or something like that. But that just goes to show you there's nothing more important than winning in your division. You got to take care of home first, and then you move from the outside. I've always, and it to me in any sport, you gotta, if you're gonna, and typically if you're somebody like Detroit, okay, the Vikings and the Packers have been ruling that division, all right, first and second, whatever the case may be. So as a Viking brass, what do you look at? This is what we need to do to get past these teams. We need X, Y, Z, and then once you're up here with them, then you start thinking about outside the division in the conference.
Yeah.
Okay, what do we need to contend with? The people who are ahead of them in the conference. And typically that's how you work your way out. I believe it's like that in any sport. But you want to take care of your division first, because if you can't win within your division, you're not going anywhere.
Yeah,
it's the bottom line.
If there's a miracle in South Beach,
yeah,
people, that teams like the Jets and Buffalo are going to say thank you very much, because now it becomes. I mean, the Jets are actually, they had a week off, so now they're going to be well prepared this week. So with a Dolphins loss, man, that kind of makes things real interesting. And in your case, if Detroit loses the Raiders,
and
things change. Things change drastically, and you don't definitely want to keep on losing, But I don't know.
Yeah. The way that the NFL season has gone so far, it's been there's a lot of parity.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of parity. Just when we think we know who the dominant team is, they lose.
So true.
You know what else I think about the parity? Just when we think the teams are the most worst, they play well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can't predict who's the best. And outside of Carolina, we can't predict who's the worst, because we were just saying how bad the Patriots were. They step up and beat Buffalo. Yeah. Atlanta's playing very well this year. They've been a bottom feeder for a while. The Raiders, we didn't think had much, and they've got a couple. There's a couple of teams. I think maybe Denver might be the second worst team now. But
how about the Steelers?
Arizona?
I didn't expect those Steelers to be.
No, I actually expected the Steelers to be better this year. They've always been, we're always going to hover around 500.
Yeah.
But last year, they figured that they got their guy in the way of a quarterback, wide receiver, good running back. I think the only thing with them now is they need to bolster their offensive line.
Yeah.
They need to bolster, and I think
they got all the skill positions.
Exactly. I think and they're good on defense. Defense
tremendous.
Has never been a question. Pittsburgh is
all over the place. Yeah.
If you can go from there, and maybe get one more wide receiver, just to bolster what they already have, I think they'll be fine. And
what happened to what's his name? Dion? What? For the Steelers.
Johnson.
Yeah, Johnson from the Steelers.
Came back last week. He was hurt.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So I think they'll be fine. They were my sneaky pick this year. to
And
do
they played well in preseason, so they gave
Yeah.
people that feeling like, oh man.
Yeah. They were my sneaky pick to do, to come out of the AFC, and kind of be under the radar. A lot of people weren't looking at them. Of course, you're gonna look at the sexy picks like the Baltimore,
Yeah.
especially within that division, Cincinnati, and nobody is really looking at, nobody's really looking at Pittsburgh. They had a couple of bad losses, I think, a couple of good wins, and hey, it just all it does is for a couple for you to get on a roll, and then before you know it, confidence is being built, and you're going out there and you're exceeding your performance and all that stuff. And confidence is a big thing. Confidence is a big thing. You play with confidence, and as we know, they got a coach. He's been there forever, and is yet to have a less than 500 record.
He did an awesome reel this week. I was loving it.
Yeah,
but he's a good coach.
Yeah, he is. But you know what's crazy? You listen to, I know because I've been on the opposite end. If you have a coach who's 500 and his record was 500 for 10 years, as opposed to a coach who's never had a losing record and has only had, I think, 500 seasons, you tend to appreciate that.
Yeah.
And I hear a lot of the Steelers say, "Oh, get rid of him." I think if things were going the way that they continue to go with their offense, with their lack of offensive productivity, I think maybe his offensive coordinator would have probably gotten fired. But like all it takes is a couple of wins.
Yeah.
To take the heat off, but they got to keep the momentum going. They're in a black and blue division, with the Ravens and the Bengals. So they have to, every week they have to bring it, especially with the emergence of Baltimore. Baltimore is seemingly they're trending, and if they can get the offense to play like they did last week against Detroit, they're going to be a problem. They're going to be a problem.
Yeah, they have like a Pittsburgh. Let's say, Pittsburgh only has the Steelers to look at, right? So anything that they do, it's kind of magnified, whether it's winning or losing. So, but Tomlin, I appreciate what he's doing. He's consistent. I really, was surprised with their wins, a couple of their wins this year, but it's there for the taking. Yep. They're ready. They play Baltimore tough every single year.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Anything else before we move on to the next subject? Our next subject. So our next subject is going to be the NFL trade deadline with some rumors to go with it. All right. So in regards to trades or people who were probably on the block for trades. All right. We could start off.
We already mentioned Washington.
Yes. So we'll talk about teams that are sellers. All right. So Denver, they're talking about giving up both their wide receivers. They're Jerry Jeudy and Cortland Sutton.
Yeah.
And somebody I'd like to get in free agency, but I don't know where the money comes. They're fishing around Patrick Surtain. I would rather give up my number one draft pick and get a lockdown corner for years, but with the money we're going to have to pay Mr. Jefferson, and now with Kirk hanging around, I don't think the money's there, but that would be my free agent goal if Christmas came early.
He's a generational person, a player rather. So
listen, a lot of people take cornerbacks for granted. There's nothing like having a lockdown corner. There's so much more you can do with it. So just all you got to do is
divides the field in half.
All you got to do is look no further than the Cowboys, right?
Yeah.
When they had Trayvon Diggs there. You can something, you can do so much more on the opposite side because it's like having an extra person free. you may not have to have that safety shading over that way. That
Yep.
safety
He can go help that
can
number
do-
2
yes.
corner.
There's a lot of things you can do. You could play one safety high and shade the safety towards the other one and use the other safety closer up to the line of scrimmage. There's so many things you can do, and people take it for granted. Once again, I told when he went down, when Trayvon Diggs went down, I told guys, I said, listen, that defense is not going to be the same. They are not going to be the same because number one, they led up until the week that he got hurt, which was week 4. Well, week 3 he got hurt. Week 4 they led the league in man-to-man coverage. They were almost 57% of the time in the man-to-man coverage. So what does man-to-man coverage do? All right, we know what man-to-man coverage does. It challenges the quarter. It challenges the defense in the way of, okay, you know what? We're gonna put more guys up on the line of scrimmage to be able to stop the run.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna jam you on the line, and we're gonna play aggressively. And when you can't do that now, what do? You revert back into zones. In zones, we know there's a lot of open spots that you can with a good quarterback, you can pick a zone apart all day. You got more challenging throws man to man. So that's what it does. So people take for granted what a lockdown corner can be. In a case like a Surtain,
I would gamble
Yeah.
everything because
a
he's
Surtain,
proven.
yes.
Unlike the guys that might come out.
So, to put it to give a little context, once again, he was the guy that we were looking at.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. And had
he
a
went,
settle.
and we had a
Parsons.
settle for Parsons.
Boy, that turned out
blessing in disguise because when we picked him up, when we got Parsons, Trayvon Diggs made the jump the following year. He went from an okay cornerback to a Pro Bowl cornerback.
But how would that have looked if they
Um,
did get Surtain and paired him with Diggs?
Oh,
I mean, you wouldn't have Parsons.
wouldn't have Parsons.
yeah.
But
And
what side of the field do you throw to then?
Yeah.
With Dallas, I mean,
And they
their
probably
pass
just
rush
kept Gregory.
is that pass rush is as an opposing quarterback, you have 2 to 3 seconds.
That's why.
And if you have Diggs here, you have, and the other case is Gilmore.
Yeah.
Guess what? They're timing it. They're watching 1, 2, 3, and then jumping routes. Boom, interception.
Well, this is the thing. So when you play man to man, and you know you can get pressure with 5, okay, now you're making the quarterback. You can't throw to a spot. You have to make a more precise pass. That's
True.
That's just how it goes, and it makes it that much more tougher on the offense. You have to hold those blocks up. There's a lot of things that have to go right. It automatically the unless you have a bona fide 1, a 2, and possibly a 3, someone in the like the way of like a Kelsey, that's going to constantly beat their man. It's tough. It's tough. And like I told him, I said, since he's been gone, that defense is the first 3 games. Granted, they were playing against bad teams, but I could see for myself, I could see what they were doing playing in a man as opposed to playing in the zone. And it just wasn't. And the first game they played. So when they played the Cardinals, when they lost that 4th game, they went from 57% to 42% playing man to man.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of blown assignments. When you're not used to playing it and that's not your go-to, then there's going to be mistakes. But a generational shutdown corner like that is worth every penny. They're just as good as a wide receiver.
What a big defensive end that puts pressure on.
Yeah.
And it goes to go back to my team, all that money they have, not to have those key players, not to go after somebody like Surtain, not to go after different other players is amazing. I mean, the Patriots would love to have Gilmore, right? They have all that money. Gilmore's playing in Dallas, played in Indy, and so they said no to him, but they're sitting on this bulk of a bunch of money.
Always does that.
Yeah, and it's like I wish it was there. I mean, Gonzalez is hurt, but those could be 2 cornerbacks that they potentially would have loved on a great defense. Judon's on this, but Sertan is just amazing. He's and if he gets on any team, I mean, even Philly, they picked up the safety from Tennessee.
Yes.
That's a plus, man.
So continuing on, you've got Denver. They're looking to get rid of their wide receivers. You got Marquise Brown, Cardinals, Derrick Henry, Titans. Which so for the Titans, they also are adding DeAndre Hopkins into the thing.
They should. He's not a fit. He made a mistake.
Now, can you imagine
signing
that?
for the money, but who's going to
Those
pay him
two.
that money?
Yeah, that's the big thing.
Yeah,
that's the big.
The other one is the coach. There's a problem there. So you can imagine the turnaround in Tennessee. Trabo is, him and the GM. There's some kind of friction there. So that may change. So the whole franchise is probably going to change within this next few days.
Bill Lees and Vrabel.
Yep.
Well, who would be biased for people that you mentioned for the Denver wide receivers? Who could you see them going to? I know who they won't go to is Kansas City, who needs a wide receiver, but you don't trade with your division.
Yeah, you don't trade with
Philly's not trading somebody to Dallas,
no,
or vice versa.
No, you don't. You if anything, you're going to go to another. You're going to go to out of the conference, really.
Right.
So you would have to look at an NFC contender. I would say someone along the lines, maybe a Seattle.
They just drafted Smith and Jigma. They still got Lockett. They still got the big dude.
I mean, Jacksonville should go get one of them. You see what's going on with Ridley. They've been doubling down. They're not doing too much.
They got Ridley. They got, what's the other kid's
Kirk.
name?
Christian Kirk.
Christian Kirk. They've got Ridley. What's the other kid's name?
Jacksonville?
No, he's Baltimore.
I don't know of anybody else in Jacksonville. The tight end Ingram.
But
I thought they had one more wide receiver.
But I'm just, that would be that's what they need. They need one of those two receivers.
Just the Patriots try to be biased to get a wide receiver, or is their season 2 gone? Like, they got the money. Why not start planning for next year? Grab somebody that could be number one.
Bill just doesn't. He doesn't have that offensive want in his.
No, you don't see it's not his priority at all.
Yeah, no. For him, he'd go out and get a defensive guy.
Yeah.
He'd go out. You already got enough on defense to hold the ship tight for this year. Like, you need to see what you got in Mac Jones, and you can't evaluate him until you give him true weapons.
Yeah, I mean,
he's. Let's just call it for what it is. He's a defensive coach.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
he's not an offensive.
He's defensive about getting offensive talent.
He's a defensive coach. It's not hating. It's not hating, but to look any further, right? We brought the stat up last week, right? How many guys has he drafted who have been Pro Bowlers at the skill positions? At the skill positions, there's only 2 of them.
I heard you guys say Edelman.
Non-quarterback.
You said Edelman and you said Gronk. Yep.
None of them were like number 1 picks.
No.
He got lucky.
No.
Gronk
actually
because of injury.
His back. Yep.
And they wasn't sure. They almost let Edelman go.
Yeah, Edelman was going to be more of a kick returner, more of a gadget guy.
Yeah.
A third down specialist, slot guy, and it turned out that he basically just filled in right where Welker left off.
Yeah.
It was a nice transition, but because of the fact that he had Tom Brady, who coached these guys up, put him in the right position to succeed, and sometimes threw them open. And he no longer has that luxury. He is not a offensively gifted coach.
No, not
by no stretch of the imagination.
And that goes everywhere.
Defense, that's a different story. He'll always put up a good defensive team. He'll always come up with a good defensive strategy. For the most part. But yeah, I just don't think he has the willingness and want to go out there and say, I'm going to get me one of those wide receivers.
I agree.
I don't see it. He hasn't ever done it. No. And I certainly don't see him starting to do it now.
What would you think about Judy possibly going to the Texans?
That would be a good move.
Yeah.
You get a veteran wide receiver, and then
Yeah.
you still got Nico Collins emerging. You still got Tank Dell in this. That could be 3 guys that you have for a long time, and now you got that lead number 1.
So there's enough wide receivers out there, you know, and they've actually threw out Kendrick Bourne's name and Hunter Renfro too as well.
Yeah.
Um,
And
I got
Evans
2
too,
names
Mike
even bigger-
Evans.
Yep, I was just say I got 2 names bigger than that. Mike Evans, who could possibly be on the radar of the Chiefs.
Now, if they win against Buffalo,
Yeah, tonight.
does Tampa Bay just say, we're going to keep them?
Let's stop.
No.
what's
with
their
Baker
record?
Mayfield,
What's Tampa's?
They started off 3-1, and then I
Yeah,
think they
so
lost
they-
like 2 out of 3. I want to say they're like 4 and 3
4-3
right now,
But that division's
wide
trash.
open.
It's
Yeah,
trash.
but you
New Orleans inconsistent.
not having a lead running back and not having a quality quarterback. I can't see Tampa Bay.
They just need to make up their minds if they're going to retool,
They could.
or
get
are they
another
going to try
one.
to make a move this year?
Hmm.
Do you want to reset? If you want to reset, you become sellers. All right, regardless of your record.
Yeah.
If you want a true reset, you say, you know what, we're just going to play the season out. Whatever happens, happens. But we're going to be sellers. We're going to be looking towards the future. If they don't make any moves or they don't push anyone, anyway, then they're content. With how they are, and not they're just going to ride it out.
They're 3-3, Buccaneers.
Oh, because they've already had their bye.
Yeah.
So yeah, but that is trash. It really is. I just see it. Like I said, I just see it's going to be tough. And especially Mike Evans, he's such a good wide receiver.
He is.
Yeah.
But if he had a Patrick
Oh,
Mahomes throwing him the
Jesus.
ball,
Oh,
he
Jesus.
starts turning back the clock. Look what Brady did with him.
Yeah, nah. If he goes to KC,
Sheesh.
yeah, that would be ugly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Or you know who else I think's potential for KC? If they don't get Mike Evans, they'll call the Saints about Michael Thomas. See what he's got left in the tank. Because he'll easily be the number 1 over there. And if he's serious and he wants to win, he'll get a chance to play. I think Evans would be their best bet, but I think a consolation prize would be what's his name? Mike Thomas.
Are they willing? Has his name been mentioned?
Well, they said there's been tension with him and the Saints for years, with him in the front office. He sat out a year. They questioned whether or not he was hurt.
basically.
The only reason he came back, I think,
It's
he
a
has to
different
play for that
coach,
next
right?
contract. Yeah,
A
he was
different coach,
arguing
so
with-
he's
with
probably-
Peyton.
Yeah, he was arguing. So basically, what was going on was his foot. It was his foot,
And he decided to
and
get
he decided
surgery.
to get. Well, he went against their doctors. He went out and he sought a second.
I remember that. Yep.
and they didn't like that. They did not like that
Mhm.
because last year I was obviously listening to his uncle.
Yeah, it's a little biased.
And he was going out and he was saying everything. Like he basically threw the doctors literally threw them under the bus.
Wow.
Said that he thought that they were trying to sabotage his career because of the fact that they were going back and forth. There was a question, is he just doesn't want to play? And the doctors had made a decision. He went against the doctor's decision. He went out and he sought a second opinion and decided to get the surgery. They wanted him to actually address it the year before when there was 3 or 4 games left. They're saying, listen, you need to address this now.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, I'm going to address it at the end of the season. They didn't like that. That's where a lot of the turmoil came in. And it just carried over to the following season. And then he opted out to get surgery. And that they're where they're at now. Obviously, you've got a different coach with a different train of thought. So I don't know. I don't know where he's at. I'm not kind of familiar with the story.
I think it's going to be interesting because I think teams are going to inquire because people know the situation with him and the Saints. It's not something that he's going to want to probably hang around long term. But I could be wrong because I thought that with the running back in the Colts, and he stayed. He got re-signed.
Got his money, yeah.
Yep.
I think with him, I think a lot of it was, a lot of it turned personal when the owner came out and started speaking. But I think that could have just been a ploy. Remember what Jerry Jones said, right? Emmett who?
Mm.
Back in the day, Emmett who? They lose
Yeah.
their first 2 games after
Yeah.
winning the Super Bowl. He's like, Emmett Smith's holding out. They were like, who you think? He's like, Emmett who? You know,
Mhm.
it's a bargaining ploy, right?
Yeah.
You try to get away from it and say something. And I think maybe he just went about it in the wrong way. And to boot, it didn't help because all the running backs were getting belittled at the time. They would
Mhm.
all the running backs were getting devalued as far as cost went. And that's just how it turned out to be. But I think he was always in their plans. I don't think they ever had a backup. I don't think they ever had a backup plan for him. You got a sample size of what he could do in the first 3 years of his career. And it's like, okay, either you're going to pay me, I'm going to go somewhere else and get paid. And they didn't have. I firmly believe that they didn't have a backup plan, one that was reliable enough to be as productive. And they were like, okay, we kind of got caught with our pants down. We don't have a backup plan. We need to sign him. So that's where he made out. But yeah, I think the wide receivers and the edges are
We haven't even touched on the edges.
we haven't touched on the edges.
There's 4 key ones.
Yeah.
We have not touched on the edges. So we can start with your guy, Hunter.
I got to keep him.
Yeah.
But same argument.
Yeah.
We weren't planning on keeping Kirk,
Yeah.
and I'm pretty sure we were going to release Harrison Smith. But now we got a chance to win.
So it's funny how once you get the bumps in the roads,
Mhm.
how they appeared in game 2, how they appear in game 7, how different, how dramatically the terrain changes, right? And that's where we're at now. It's like, okay, week 2, 3, we were talking about them being sellers and possibly getting rid of Kirk Cousins.
I was talking about
exactly.
We were
I
like,
was
wait a
actually
second.
hoping for it.
You can unload this guy, don't have to worry about him, and get something in return from him, and stop thinking about your future. Now all of a sudden, it's like, wait a second, they're back in the mix.
Yeah.
And now they can possibly do things. Now it's like, okay, we need to think about this again because we're somewhere totally different now as opposed to where we were in week 3, week 4.
Especially in that division.
Yes,
man.
yes. So
who's the best of the edge rushers?
we got Danielle Hunter, we've got Chase Young,
and Montez Sweat
and Montez Sweat. Yeah, that's another 2 guys.
Sweat, I
One
love.
more big name.
I love Sweat. I think
that's
he's.
that's enough. And you know what's crazy? So we witnessed Chase Young in his rookie year have a great year,
Mhm.
and
He got hurt.
we watched all because basically, remember how I talked about how you draft to offset someone in your division.
Mhm.
So what they did was they drafted to counter against the Dallas Russian and the Dallas offensive line. They went 4 years across the line with all defensive linemen.
And guess who they signed to the high contracts? The interior linemen.
Yes.
Yeah.
They've already been paid.
Yes.
So they can't afford to pay the 2 edge rushers.
Yes.
Right now. They'll keep 1 or the 2. Which one are they making available?
So what they did was they did the anti-Dallas. Okay, Dallas, you've got a great offensive line. We're countering with a great defensive line every year. Number one, all the way down. Okay. Now it's come to a head where, just as you said, interior. What are we gonna do? How are we gonna attack?
They've already paid the big money to the interior.
Yes.
Deron Payne and
Yes.
who's the other guy they got? Aaron Robinson or something.
Like-
Sean Robinson. But they signed it to, interior defensive linemen. But now it's time for the rookie contracts to come up here. So there's guys. What about Brian Burns in Carolina?
Yep.
So you got 4 guys. If you were Jerry Jones and you made the decision to go after one of those 4, who and why are you grabbing?
Albeit we don't really need one, but if I had my chance, I probably would look at number 1. I'm looking at what the free agent market is going to garner as far as salary.
Yeah.
And I'm also looking at age and health.
That's the point that I wanted to get to, because health kind of eliminates Hunter, because he had those 2 years where he was battling injury. He's also 28 years old, getting ready to be 29. So he's the oldest out of those guys.
Yes.
The 2 Washington guys are young, but Brian Burns is younger.
Yes.
He's coming off his rookie contract.
Mhm.
So he hasn't signed his first big contract, but any one of those guys are going to command $25 million or more.
And I think Young is still hurt. To tell you the truth, there's
But he's been
nothing.
hurt forever.
Yeah,
You might as well
think-
put
Year
him
and
in,
a half.
except for
Yeah.
the age, you might as well pair him with Daniil Hunter.
Year and a half he's been hurt.
Yep.
A year and a half. He tore up his knee mid season. It took him a full season, and then the first 3 games. It was, I think it was. So, yeah, you gotta take all those things into account. You gotta talk about, okay, if we get him, is he on an expiring contract? He's going to become a free agent. What is he going to get? Once his free agency comes, is it going to be? Are we going to sign him? We're going to sign him right away to a contract. We're going to include that, take into account their health, what they've been through in the past, and the age. Those are all things that you obviously have to take into account. Not who's just having the better year, because
Who's the best long term?
yeah, there's
a
no
lot of
guarantee.
money.
There's no guarantee that what you did this year you're going to do next year. There has to be a trend. You would had to have done it 2, 3, 4 years and be on a consistency trail. Not just 1 year. You're a flash in the pan, and then all of a sudden it's gone.
Do you see any one of them being any better or more desirable?
I would. Yeah, I would have to, like you said, I'd have to go after the young guy.
Burns.
Yes, I'd have to go.
He's got the numbers. He's just on a bad team.
Yes, I would have to go with the youngest guy who's been pretty much injury free. You're talking about these other guys who've been through injuries and are slightly older, so I would have to go with him. Also, Barry's bringing up a good point. So we know Henry, and now they're talking about Saquon Barkley too, which is, to me, is mind boggling.
Davis.
What's that?
Which Davis?
Wow, Barkley. I haven't heard anything about Barkley.
Yeah, I heard Barkley.
Okay.
They actually interviewed him the beginning of the week, and they talked to him, and he said, "Listen, my heart is here. Obviously, this is the team that I bled blue for. I know, I've had some injury seasons, but whenever I'm on the field, I give it my all. I don't leave anything out there. But the thing for me with him is, right, so you've already made one bad move, all right, with the quarterback, giving him $40 million. And it's already been proven when Saquon Barkley is in the game, along with Danny Dimes, their record is they have like a almost like a 65% chance of winning. As soon as Barkley goes out, it plummets over 30%.
Because they don't have another
They don't have
skill
no
position
running.
threat.
Yes, exactly.
They don't have another running back to back them up.
So-
they don't have nobody on the outside to.
So what you're saying now is, okay, we're going to get rid of Barkley, but if you're going to get rid of Barkley, right? At what price are you going to get rid of him? I don't foresee anyone giving up number ones for him because of his long-term health, his inability to stay healthy and to be on the field on a weekly basis. All right. So at best, I'm thinking 3rd round pick. At best. I'm not, and you got to take into account he believes he should be paid because he had a great season last year. The only 2 seasons in which he can hang his hat on is last year and his rookie year.
Only 2 seasons he was healthy.
There you go. So,
but that's the same argument we talked about with Daniil Hunter. When
Yeah.
he's healthy, I mean, you talk about his age, but he's leading the league in sacks. And when he had freak accidents. So Saquon Barkley didn't have freak accidents, and he's at a position that you need to be healthy at all the time. Daniil Hunter tore his pec reaching for a tackle when somebody ran by.
Yeah, that's common.
That's not a long-term injury I'm worried about.
That's common for a lot of defensive players because you're
I've seen
engaged
TJ
and you
Watt
got to go.
having that.
You got to go put your arm out. Guess what?
Just not strong enough.
Either that, or it's going to turn into a rotator cuff too. Because your arm's getting thrown all kinds of ways. But yeah, so I'm kind of confused in which way they're going to go because you've already made one mistake with your quarterback. And your running back is at market value, $9 million. What are you going to get that's going to be better than him? you're going to drop money in salary to get somebody, a rookie possibly, that you, and there's no saying that you're going to hit on that either.
They should be in the market for one of those either defensive ends, or they should be in the market for one of the lead wide receivers.
Yeah.
Because they need both, but address one side of the football and
get it and
then worry about everything else next year.
And keep everybody.
It's going to improve you if you get a number one. If you get a Jerry Jeudy, or you get a Michael Thomas, or you get somebody else that's a number one on your team, that takes the pressure off Danny Dimes, excuse me, and Saquon Barkley. If you get an edge rusher and put him on that defense, and you already got what's the other young kid that played at Oregon? Number 5.
Yeah, that's Marcus
Chummick and Donald Lester's guy there.
Yeah,
but now you're starting to have a semblance of a defensive presence on the offensive line.
Yeah, I'm just a little.
I mean, the defense line.
I'm a little confused because just the old saying, men lie, women lie, stats don't lie, right? So when you put Saquon Barkley and you put him in that offense, immediately you ascend 30 points with a 30% more chance of winning. That has to be worth something.
Mm-hmm.
That has to be worth something.
So
right there, then and there, I would have actually paid the running back more than I would have paid the quarterback. I know it doesn't work that way in today's NFL because of longevity. But I would
years and more money.
Yes. So this would be the thing. What a lot of obviously a lot of NFL players don't want to hear, but you throw incentives in there, like, okay, you have to play X amount of games. You have to be on the field, 12 out of the 17 games, you have to be on the field, and throw those in there and give them little incentives. A lot of players, they won't even sign. If you're at the end of your career, you sign it. But if you're somebody like a Saquon Barkley who's looking for his first contract, typically, running backs had no problems up until the last 2 years of getting first contracts. Now all of a sudden it's an issue because everyone's devaluing the running back position. But
the Giants trying to save face, because Danny Dimes was that top level pick, wasn't it the owner, GM?
Yes, they reached.
Yeah,
they reached
really.
When they
save face,
they
right?
traded down with another pick, and he would have been there in the teens.
Yes, they
15 to 20.
They tried to make a we're gonna reach, and we're this is our guy, and it didn't work.
No other team would have drafted him higher.
No. Everybody was like, wait a second, what's going on here?
He'd have been a Belichick number 2 or something.
But yeah, so Barry's saying Vegas Lopes
for the pass rushers.
No, I guess he was talking about the running back. Is that what he was talking about? The running back?
Well, I was thinking only because they lost Chandler Jones. They got Josh Jacobs.
Yeah.
So they don't need a running back.
Yeah.
They got wide receivers. So I'm thinking he's talking about the defensive ends in light of that Chandler Jones situation.
Yeah, I think sad.
Maybe they could.
Yeah, it has to, because it won't. It's just like you just talked about. Denver not going to trade within the division, so it couldn't be the receivers. So it's probably the ends.
Yeah,
they were talking about.
Yeah, it's sad to say, but I think Chandler Jones. I think his career might be over.
Yeah,
I mean he's had the issue in New England. Smoking the funny stuff.
Yeah.
Oh,
synthetic weed.
Devontae getting traded.
Well, yeah. Well, no, they brought his name up. They brought his name
up. A hell of an offer.
Yeah, it's gonna take for him to get traded.
I heard his name mentioned
with the Cowboys.
Your boys.
But you know something?
Along with Jeudy.
Listen, the thing for me is, I'm at this point, I'd much rather take a running back. Nothing.
Is there one out there you prefer?
Nothing. I take Henry.
Yeah.
For the sole reason that he's the battering ram. So now you can go back to the Thunder and Lightning. Yeah, Pollard was good because he was a great change of back. He's not good to be used to be running in between the tackles 20, 25 times a game.
But
he's not built like
that.
Do
you think it would
not strong enough for it?
So they gave a trade proposal. You know how you always see those things come up. They were talking about Tennessee would have to eat almost $10 million of his salary.
Over how long of a time?
For the next 3 years.
Because he has a new contract.
Yes, for the next 3 years. So that's what they were saying. If they would absorb that, then they could talk about getting, possibly getting additional, picks to go with him. But because of the fact that he's gotten a new contract, and that contract, he's only one of a couple of running backs that are going to be making that money. You have to kind of come back down to the market rate. And that's what they were talking about. But if for my preference for the Cowboys, speaking on them, I would say go and get that big running back that's going to get you those tough yards, which they're not doing right now. When is the last time that you seen the Cowboys in the last 10 years try to do a tush push?
Yeah. Yeah.
That goes without saying. Let's call it for what it is. You release Ezekiel Elliott and you did not come up with a backup plan. Okay. You thought, we witnessed what Pollard could do in a small sample size, but is he that back that's going to be able to run 25 times where he's going to run maybe 10 to 13 times in between those tackles?
And he's part of the reason Zeke was so effective, because you could change the pace up by bringing Pollard and less wear and tear on Zeke. Pollard's being asked to do it without that same courtesy.
No, because he made his money running off, obviously running off tackle. It's just that way. Can he run inside sometimes? Yeah, some quick, but to do it continuously, to ask him to do it, 8 to 10 times, that's not good for him. He is a smaller back, and he needs to live mainly on the edge. Let somebody else do that, because guess what? Within 2 to 3 years, he'll be gone. He'll be done. You just can't ask, and especially, the coach already said, I want to be able to run the ball more. To be able to run the ball more, you have to get physicality. And he's not that type of runner that's going to hit you and knock you on your back. It just isn't there. He's going to finesse you, beat you to the corner, and that's about it. And they didn't have a backup plan. They still could have reacquired him. They could have cut him because he sat out there for 3 months, and they could have brought him back for the same. Patriots are only going to end up paying him less than $2 million. Less than $2 million. And I don't know why they didn't do that.
That was a knock to both him and Zeke, because Zeke, if he wanted to stay in Dallas, knew he had to take less money, and he should have. I'm sure he took a lot less in New England, just because that was the last.
It was his only offer. It was his only offer.
So he could have stayed in Dallas probably for a little bit more.
I think
or at least the same money.
That would have been a better move for him, because I think
the system.
He would have. He definitely would have been doing much more than what he's in New England.
He had 10 touchdowns last year.
Yeah.
He became the short yardage guy.
They were goal line, but those
the first down guy.
Yes. If you needed 3 yards, you could say, if you needed 2.5 to 3 yards, you can give it to him, knowing full well on first contact, he's going to have the ability to be able to break that tackle, or at least push the pile forward.
And that was good for him.
Yeah.
And the other guy, Jay Williams, right? That's all he was, is scoring touchdowns for Detroit.
Yeah.
And look what he got. He got a decent contract. He's doing well.
Yeah.
Based on that 2 to 3 yards.
So,
and all those touchdowns.
Here's my question. If for some reason you can't get Derrick Henry, would Dalvin Cook be an option? Because he'd come a lot cheaper, and he'd give you relief from Pollard. Maybe not.
So let's just put it this way. They need to, he would be an option because he is a physical back.
8 years old.
He's a physical back, and he's bigger. You need someone that's going to be able to push that pile,
catch the ball.
Yes, you need, first and foremost, you need someone to get those tough 1.5 to 2 yards. Okay, as currently constricted, they don't have that in their running back room.
Look how many plays that. Prescott ends up running on that 4th and short.
Yeah.
Don't get it.
Yeah, like I said,
You have Henry there.
for me,
different story.
I laugh at it because I've never seen the Cowboys try a tush push, a quarterback sneak. It's very rarely did they need to do that, knowing that they had a guy in the backfield that was, red zone efficient when it comes to 1 to 3 yards. That was a blunder on their half, and it's most notable because you see, as Barry put, fix our red zone problems. You get inside there. You do play action pass 1 or 2 times, and all of a sudden,
and a solid tight end can change that.
then all of a
You got the
sudden,
tight end.
then all of a sudden things change. Now you have to be, the linebackers aren't so concerned about, passes coming over the middle. If you're going to take that one step forward, now you do the play action. If you're going to take that one step backwards, you give it to that guy. Something as simple as that could fix a lot of problems. It could. And I expect them to be buyers in the way of a running back. If it's not Henry, it's got to be someone else.
I just heard Miami shopping Cook because, the Jets
The
are shopping Cook because Brees Hall's recovery has gone so well. They thought he'd wait for his explosiveness. It's been there all season.
Yeah, and Cook's not getting any touches.
Because of Brees Hall.
There was a third running back that had more touches than Cook. I can't think of it. Yeah, Michael Carter.
Third year.
I think is it Michael Carter?
Yeah, because he's been in their system for a little bit.
Yeah, so.
But it's going to be interesting. I'm kind of looking forward. I just don't think we'll see a move until after Sunday's round of games.
Yeah, you're not going to see. Usually, as soon as it hits 48 hours, that's when and all it's going to take is for one guy, and it's going to set it off.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to set it off because people are going to start saying, "Okay, here it goes. Let's go. Let's do it."
One
you know
of
what I'm saying?
Defensive edge rushes leaves. Oh, we got to get one.
So because guys already have them on their board. Now you got to go to option B or option C, whatever the case may be. Just as if you were drafting, you have an A, you have a B, C on your wish list, and that's all it takes. It's a snowball effect. All right, fellas, this is jump into the NBA.
There's a certain team that's tipping off right about now.
Let's jump into the NBA preview. All right, so as we all know, the NBA started its season on Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Yep.
They had an early game and a late game, just like today, and then everybody else played yesterday.
Yes. So the NBA opened up. Just about all the teams played, with the exception of 4 that are playing tonight. A doubleheader, and so we actually witnessed the champs, the Denver Nuggets, play against the Los Angeles Lakers to open up the season, and it was no different. No different in the way in which we seen them play last year. They pretty much held the lead, 16 points. The Lakers trimmed it down to, I want to say 4 or 3 points, and then they, go on a run, build it back up to 12. But it's the same thing, when it gets to crunch time, Joker pretty much does whatever he wants.
He's just amazing.
He does whatever. And an interesting point was brought up about him because of the fact that he's so efficient in what he does, and he doesn't depend on a lot of athletic ability. His career may be prolonged.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
he's not a high flyer. He hasn't
been hurt.
Yeah, and he hasn't been hurt. He's very durable, very durable.
He's got those 2 brothers beat him up.
Yeah, right.
UFC fighting.
So it's interesting. A lot of the analysts are saying, this guy might be around for, a good 12 to 15 years easily because of the fact that he doesn't require. He plays below the rim, not above the rim, below the rim.
Extra impact.
That's right.
Nope.
They're saying the only thing that could literally get him out of the NBA is if he were to stop taking care of his body. Yeah. If he were, to just like start eating a lot and just not care about it. Otherwise, his skill set is one in which he doesn't put out. There's not a lot of energy used. He just
release on a shot.
Yeah, he has a total package.
Yeah.
So I mean, let's call it for what it is. I think their only question for me would be their bench. All right. So we know that the guys that put in some work last year, most notably Bruce Brown and Jeff Green, they're gone. They've been replaced with, I think, guys,
Kansas.
Christian Braun and
The kid with the
Reggie
acronym there.
Jackson. Those are going to be the new guys that are in. Will they be able to perform at the rate that those other guys did last year? Especially
Brown brought something different.
Brown,
Than either one
yes.
of those guys.
Yes.
And Braun's going to have to be the one to try to play that intensity he brings off the
Yeah.
bench.
Mhm.
He brings offense and defense.
Yeah.
Braun seems to be in that mode, but he's not as good at it yet.
Yeah.
He could get there.
And they got smaller. Which could be a problem. Not as of yet. I mean, you've always got the trade deadline or trades to be made. But I think that's the only thing that'll stop them.
Well, the health concerns of the two guys that are injury prone, Jamal Murray and Mike
Yeah.
Porter.
Well,
They stay healthy.
so let's just put it this way. This is the first time since Jamal Murray's been there that he's actually starting the season.
Mm.
It's the first
He's
time.
one of my favorite players.
Yeah.
I just feel bad when he gets hurt because I see the potential in his game, and he can go back and forth between a 1 and 2 guy, no problem.
Yeah. I think
And he works so well with Jokic.
So the bench and health, I think, is the only thing that'll stop them from ultimately getting back to at least the Western Conference Final. I don't foresee a lot of teams beating them or being as consistent as they are right now.
So you think they're a shoe-in to be the number 1 seed? In
I believe so. I
got them there too.
I believe
Charlie?
so. I believe so.
Denver is definitely top of my list with Phoenix right there. I like Phoenix. I really do.
1, 2.
I think 1 and 2. It's going to change throughout the season with them too. It's based on their records. But I think Phoenix is definitely for real. But Denver is it's that team. I don't want to second guess. I don't want to put money on the table going against Denver because I just think
I think we all agree that there's going to be the class.
Yeah.
But there's going to be challenges. But I can't put Sacramento lower than second.
The thing with Sacramento, the only thing that scares me with Sacramento, they're young, and I think what we saw last year, in the way of them having bowed out, early. I think that
lack of experience.
Yeah, I do. I really do.
They got that year in now.
I think it might take a little more, and I think it may take some more addition of some players
because I think
they've kept their starting 5 intact, and I believe they're 9 returners.
Yeah, I don't think they lost.
Yeah, they're completely the same.
9 returning players. So you're talking about the 3 that they lost were probably 2-way players, or they probably got them down or something of that nature. But when I read up on them, I believe it was 9 returning players. But the thing with them, I think, is youth. I think that experience, they didn't have that going. They were able to maintain it during the regular season. But as we know, regular season, postseason, things. I don't think they were able to keep that intensity once they got into a 7-game series. They were exposed in some areas that we didn't see during the regular season. I'm gonna lean a little more with Phoenix because
at number
2 because of the fact that you have the 3-headed monster. My only concern with them is health and proven depth, and they need a point guard. Listen, in order to get those guys the ball, you need to granted, you could do other things, but there's nothing better than a point guard being able to set you up. So if you have to take Booker, or you have to take Beal to set up a play. Now you're losing a potential scorer.
Right. They're not looking to shoot first.
Yes. So they're not options. You could always have an A, B, and a C option in them. Now you have a B, just a B and C option. Granted, you can run picks off of that, but it just, for me, is, you know, a point guard would do them a lot of justice.
And that's the only reason I don't have them higher, followed by depth. But I think their core players are good enough, but they need somebody to run the show.
Yeah,
That's
they
why
definitely
I don't have them number 2.
So, but the one good thing with that, I will say with them is they're going to have the ability to address a lot of stuff in season. So once again, when the trade deadline comes, I think they'll have the flexibility to be able to go out and
They have money.
this is the thing. So as far as the money, they're going to have to do a lot of thinking within buyout players, guys that are getting bought out within the last month of the season. A lot of that stuff, they're going to have to be savvy in that way to pick up maybe a veteran point guard or whatever the case. But first and foremost, they have to stay healthy. They have to stay healthy. You can't have Durant out for 4 weeks.
Major concern.
Yeah, he's getting older.
Booker generally stay healthy.
Yeah. Bill had what was it, the year before last where he was hurt. But those other, they're not hurt. But Durant is, let's face it, the last 3, 4 years, he's had
Since
the
he left Golden
Achilles.
State.
He's had the Achilles, and then he's had other nagging injuries that have kept him out. He's had hamstring, the ankle injury last year. It's just father time catching up with you, you know.
Yeah, no spring chicken.
Yeah, no. So yeah, I would put Phoenix ahead. And
Ahead of Sacramento.
yeah, I once it's all said and done, I just think that they have more as far as scoring depth. And if they could stay healthy, that's the big thing. That's the big key for me. I don't know if Sacramento's going to make a bigger jump than what they made last. That's almost going to be impossible for them to exceed what they did last year, because the West is it's pretty stacked.
Yep.
Everyone's gotten better.
Yeah,
Everyone's got better, and Sacramento's remained the same.
I think that surprisingly, the only team that didn't get better to me is Golden State. Golden State didn't get
I
better.
don't have them nowhere in my top.
Golden State did not get better. All right, they got Chris Paul, who gets hurt every year, and they got smaller. Let's put it this way: so Golden State, the biggest player that they have on the in there is Kevon Looney at 6'9". At 6'9", he's their biggest player.
Better at power forward, but
he's got to play center.
That's
so
why they should get Dwight Howard.
They're undersized. They are so undersized. If you don't attack them from on the inside and beat them up on the inside, shame on you.
Yeah.
Especially if you have big guys.
You gotta beat them somewhere. That's the easiest place to be.
Yeah.
But even saying that, Sacramento struggled. Well, they couldn't stop Golden State a few weeks ago, a week ago. So I just don't. That's why I think Sacramento's just going to stay.
Oh, that was a preseason game, but that was
but it's still a lot of the players.
Oh, even in the playoffs, didn't Golden State eliminate Sacramento?
Yes. But see, this is the thing for me. I just don't think they were a good regular season team. They were consistent. They really didn't lose many back-to-back games. They didn't go on long losing streaks. It was always 6 wins to 1 loss. 7 wins
with position in the
playoffs. But do I think that they're not really going to surprise anybody this year? I think teams this now are going to be like, hey, listen, they're for real. So it's harder for me to say, okay, are they going to be the number 1 team? I'm going to say no. If anything, I think that they'll regress a little bit because a lot of the teams got better.
Yep.
But will they be in the mix? I think I would put them, maybe at around 5-4, maybe. Yeah, I would put them at 5-4, maybe. I just, when it's all said and done, I don't know. I just don't have. And I said it last year. I said, oh, you know what? I don't like the matchup. Last year was an anomaly because you've seen. We a lot of the teams that usually were front runners, they were in like the 5-6 spot. So the first round games that you got were the teams like the Sacramentos that were like, oh my God, all of a sudden we're facing a team that's 7,
Everything
and they're
changes.
not really 7s.
Yeah. Trees can change.
And yeah, and it's like, oh my God, what are we gonna do now? And going into that, I said, yeah, even with even going into the first round, Golden State was kind of hobbled going into the playoffs, and they still handled them. It's just one of those things. I don't think they're a good team, but I still think they need a little more. They may need to go out and get themselves I wouldn't say defensively, I think they're okay. Maybe another scorer, somebody that's going to come off the bench and give them, double figures. I don't know. They're one of those teams that like, okay, they're good, but are they really going to make a difference when it comes postseason? I don't know. I like the fact that yes, Sabonis made leaps and bounds.
Leading rebound in the league.
He made leaps and bounds, but it needs to translate when you get into the postseason, and that's where I have a hard time. I just have a hard time. I still look at the teams that are battle tested, like the Golden States, that will be able to beat them when it comes down to the end, because you know what's going to happen? They're going to lean on those veterans. They're going to lean on Steph's going to
already starting off hurt. We know that Klay Thompson's battled injury. The young guys haven't stepped up, though. I'm hearing good things about Kuminga this year.
Yeah, Kuminga's so so what they did in the preseason, they try to lean on him a lot. They put him in they put him in the starting lineup.
Yeah.
They purposely put him in the starting lineup to say, hey, listen, let's see what he can do. So one day they sat down one of the starters. The next day they sat down on another side just to see what he could do. He responded well in preseason. That's preseason, though.
No pressure on him when you got Curry and Thompson and them guys on the court. But I got a question for you guys. Are you guys ready to commit me to the nut house if I tell you that I have the Suns 5th?
The Suns what?
5th in the West.
Well, a lot of it hinges to me if those three if they can stay healthy,
unless they get a point guard.
And unless I think they'll get through the regular season. I don't foresee it being a problem, but when it gets to the postseason, I see it as a problem, because now you're asking guys to handle the ball more and to play more.
The rotation gets shorter.
The rotation gets shorter by 3 or 4 guys when you get into the playoffs. But I don't know. It could go there if one or two of the guys get. There's a lot of ifs, ands, or buts. But if they can make it through the regular season, pretty much unscathed, I will have them in my top 3.
Without a point guard and with the lack of depth, you could still put them in your top 3.
Yeah, during the regular season.
I feel like they could go anywhere from 3 to 5, but
during the regular season,
some of those younger teams, I think, are ready, if they stay healthy, to make a move. Somebody like a Memphis.
See, Memphis is
New Orleans is good too.
Yeah, but all those games, are they going to be able to survive?
Yes, because Marcus Smart is there to bridge.
I don't know. So
Devin Bain. Look how well they played without him before. Always played well without him. So
but the thing is, I think defensively they'll be okay, because you've got Marcus Smart, you've got Jaren Jackson, you got 2 defensive player of the year guys on your team. Defensively, I think they will be okay. Offensively, they might be a little challenged, because I looked at Marcus Smart just to see, and he still was jacking up shots.
He had 18 last night, but Bain had 30.
Yeah, but Marcus Smart is still jacking up those threes. Yeah. It's one of those questions.
Ticket at that, and not respecting the coach. I think
it's one of those questions where, like, okay, is he going to be the same player? Is he going to know his role? So Ja Morant is going for what, 20? How many? What is it? 25 games.
Quarter of the season. Yeah.
He's going for a quarter of the season. All right, a third of the season. All right. So in those 25 games, what will we think their record will be? Will it be sub 500 or will it be post 500? I think it's going to. If I had to guess, I'd say somewhere around 12-13.
Yeah, I say sub only because they're gonna have to win games that are 95 to
Credit
93.
winning without
and-
Ja
and-
Morant in the last.
Well, they
couple of
have
years.
a totally different team now without him. I think so.
They got rid
Everybody.
of the hothead and they,
Well, but
and
wait a
they
second.
added Marcus Smart.
But okay, so let's just talk about that, right? So they were both more defensive players, but who do you think was better offensively
Who's better offensively between?
Out of those two defenders,
between Marcus Smart and
Jackson.
no, the one that left.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Where did he go? Where did he go?
Houston.
Yeah, Houston. He went to Houston. He got paid too.
Devin Brooks.
Devin Brooks. So who do you think is better offensively?
Well, I think Brooks, because he did what he was supposed to. He knew his role. He didn't go outside his role. He probably consistently outscore Marcus.
Right. But does he bring the same to the table on defense?
Well, he was the defensive stopper.
Yeah,
he was their defensive stopper.
Remember, he played LeBron.
He played
LeBron for a
so
little while.
well, it doesn't make a difference how you got it done. He got it done. Well, did you see the first preseason game? He got ejected. He got ejected for doing the little finger flick towards the groin. To our old guy, Tice. He went around the screen and instead of going underneath it, he went above it and he did the old flick.
Yeah.
And, Tice fell 2 minutes into the game, ejected.
Wow.
Gone.
I missed it.
He also got ejected in the FIBA Cup.
He won't get rid of that reputation.
No, he won't. He won't.
He's a good basketball player, but he's just starting to remind me of the basketball version of Antonio Brown, a talented player who can't control themselves off the field, and they're gonna wait.
You know who he reminds me of?
You
know who he reminds me of? What's the kid that used to play for Indiana? The one that used to blow in LeBron's face.
No.
I can picture him. Doc skin.
Jackson.
Yeah.
Real short here. Stevens,
yes.
What was his first name?
Yeah, I remember Stevens. He reminds me of him.
Yeah.
He did the same thing. He used to do it to LeBron, blowing in his ear, grabbing people's shorts, trying to pull him down. He did it to Paul Pierce. Different things like that, just to agitate. But that's a lot of it's mental. But you got to know when to say when, right?
Yeah.
You got to, you can't do it in key moments where your team doesn't need you to do it, and then you end up costing them. But to get back to the two, I think that he offensively, I think he was a little better than Marcus Smart. Defensively, obviously Marcus has him, but they were like the same player because they could play one all the way to 4 and 5s. He was that guy. And Marcus obviously is that guy too. But I think he definitely doesn't shoot from outside as much as Marcus. Marcus, he chucked him. So his plus minus in the game, he was I believe he was -7 with a finished result because of all the threes that he missed. But I just think that they have the dynamics of their team has shifted now. And I don't know if they did anything to get better. I think they're still the same. I think a lot of the teams around them. So who I'm looking to make a bigger move is obviously New Orleans.
Yeah, I agree.
That's why I had third ahead of Memphis.
I
had Phoenix.
I'm looking for New Orleans because obviously with Zion back, it adds a whole new dimension.
Yeah, and that changes my predictions on a lot of things in the West.
Yeah,
and he didn't. That last game, he didn't.
Remember, he
wasn't trying to create any of his shots.
They got the thin man.
Yes, now they've got a bona fide big three right there.
Yes. But he has to stay
healthy. We're back to that H word.
Yeah. Yep.
We're back to that H
word.
This
is critical for him. If he doesn't stay healthy this year,
he won't get no contract. He won't be getting no contract. He won't be getting no more contracts after this.
Year to year.
So yeah, I think if I'm gonna look at one team, I would actually say, especially in the first 25 games, I would look for them to make more of a leap and them to fall backwards. But will Memphis be able to make up that ground?
I think they will to be in the 4th seed, but I actually had Denver, Sacramento, the Pelicans and then Memphis, and then the Suns, unless the Suns get a point guard. If the Suns get a point guard, I jump them up 2 spots.
I mean, the Suns could pick up somebody like Suggs, Isaac.
I think I
grab one like a little.
I still think they're going to be fine during the regular season. I think it won't show until the postseason. I think during the regular season, because of the fact that you don't you're not playing every other day against a foe where they're going to nitpick. Well, they're going to nitpick your deficiencies, but when you get into the postseason, everything changes. They're going to look at that. You're going to see. So one of those guys is going to have to bring the ball up. You're going to see ball pressure all the way up and make them work. And instead of a 24-second clock, you're going to be left with maybe 16 seconds, 15 seconds to get into your offense. That's all part of not having a point guard. And you're putting pressure on that guy to come up and bring the ball up. That's added energy that you may need for the end of the game. And like I said, if the guy has the ball in his hand, now you have a B and a C. You can do something, but that's added energy where he's going to have to give the ball up, go back around. There's small things like that. That was part of the the game plan against the Celtics when they played against Golden State. When they divulged what to do, they said they didn't really have a true point guard, and the guys bringing the ball up were the main two scorers, Brown and Tatum. They were the main two guys, and that was one of their key. So when they sat down and they talked about it, they said, we know that they don't have a point guard. So whenever we put somebody in there, we're going to have them dog to bring the ball up.
And exhausted the clock.
That's right. So instead of, a regular point guard could probably get the ball up in 5 seconds, right? No, these guys are taking 7, 8, sometimes, and fumbling the ball away, turning the ball over. And that was one of their biggest things. They were like, we're going to dog them up the court. And they were their two main scorers. And it's like, okay, you're making them use energy. You're making them come up the court and causing them to use some added energy that really wouldn't happen if you had a point guard. People don't look at it. But like I said, during the regular season, you're not going to see it because you're not playing that same person, for a 7-game series. Every other day, sometimes it's back-to-back, you're going to see different opponents. And very rarely will you see that tactic used. Maybe somebody in their own division might pick up on it and use it or do it. But the other teams aren't going to do it. I think New Orleans, I think they're going to make leaps and bounds. I think if I had to pick, I think they would probably jump over Sacramento.
Maybe.
I
think
so.
Just want to say, don't underestimate a healthy Pelicans team. But the other reason I sidetracked the Suns down a little lower, not only do they not have a point guard, they don't have nobody to defend another good quality point guard. That's going to be they'll isolate, and none of them guys are going to be able to keep up with a great point guard.
Yeah,
they're just too big.
It works both ways.
But
so
that's
you got to
if they get a point guard, that eliminates that problem.
That's their number one problem.
It makes all the rest of them dudes stronger.
That's their number one. So in all the articles that I read, it said proven point guard, or somebody that could at least get out there and run that offense and get the guys in the spots where they need to be. That was all the articles that I read, and they all started with the same thing. It was health, point guard, and depth. And I as far as the depth goes, you can find ways with, you can, let's, one superstar goes out, put somebody in, and leave somebody on the court at all times to be able to score. It only becomes an issue once again when you get in the postseason, when the rotation is shortened. But you have a full season to figure that out. But once again, we'll go back to the health. And if the health is there, then you have something to work with. If you're not on the court, then it becomes a non-factor.
True.
But let's jump into the East real quick.
Conley would be good on Phoenix, but he's on another team.
Yeah,
but he might not be happy on another team. All right, so
let's jump into the East.
In the East, top 4.
So for me, obviously, it's going to be Milwaukee and Boston in no different order. I don't think you can say you can flip flop them. I don't think. For me, I think the Celtics, and this is, you know, a lot of people might say that, oh no, that can't be. I think the Celtics will only be as good as Porzingis is healthy,
Yeah.
because
And another person emerges on that second unit.
well, this is the thing. Okay, so in regards to Boston, right? Um, they have assets in which they can use. Okay, so this is something huge. When I was reading some of the articles today, a couple of them pointed out that, right. Um, they need to strengthen up their bench. The Celtics can use 2 first round picks, all right, and they have 9 second round picks and a $6.2 million trade exemption, and they only have 10 players on guaranteed contracts.
Hmm.
Okay. Um, so with that being said, they have a lot of flexibility to move things around. The second rounds, all those years that they were getting the ones, a lot of people forget that they had twos to go along with them too, that were future. So that's key. They have 2 first rounders in which they can use. And we're going to get back to that because it affects your team greatly. So they have the ability to fix it in season. It's just how they go about it. Okay. So now we'll look at Milwaukee. All right. The thing that I'm worried most about Milwaukee is just conversely is the same thing. Depth, lack of roster flexibility with a top heavy roster with 9 players who earn between 1.1 and $2.6 million, which means the other guys who are Giannis, Lillard, Middleton, Lopez, and Portis get the bulk of their money. So they can be in the buyout market, all right, because they have to use short money. All right. They have no future first round picks in which they can trade at the deadline. So they have none of that. All their money is tied up in their guys. So will obviously losing somebody of the caliber of Drew Holiday. Somebody losing Drew Holiday, you obviously get weaker on defense. All right. Let's use it with the Boston Celtics. Boston Celtics lost Marcus Smart, but they gained Drew Holiday.
Yeah.
They lost. There you go. So they actually gained better offense in that. They've got, so the trade-off was Marcus might have been a little more flexible because he could guard 1 through literally sometimes 1 through 5. Drew, not so much. He could probably guard 1 through 4 because he's slightly shorter, and slightly.
6'5".
He's not built more like Marcus
Yeah,
Smart.
it wasn't as strong.
He's not as strong. And getting rid of Williams, we're losing a little bit of defense, but offensively, what Porzingis could do is, and he's not that shabby on defense because he had 4 blocks.
Yeah, he did.
He against the Knicks, he was really a menace around the rim. He had 4 blocks, but what he can do offensively with either one of the Jays, with the pick and pop, is a lot you can do off of that. You can roll. There's a lot of off the ball screens that you can do for that other guy going backdoor, whatever the case is, or off screen action. There's a lot of things. But getting back to you guys, what about your depth moving forward? Will it hinder you not being able to have that roster flexibility?
I think the point you make about defense is valid because we're putting all our eggs in one basket to be a team that's got to outscore you, but we don't have the depth if we have to rest those guys. I think our depth will be better than Boston's, but our defense will be worse. Surprisingly, the area that I'm more concerned about is how the new coach does.
Well, yeah, it's going to be a learning curve.
Yeah, so I don't know what to expect. He was on Boston's bench for a while. I remember him as a player. I don't know his relationship with players. I don't know how well he'll be able to control the superstars like Dame and Giannis. So that's when I watch the game tonight. I'm going to be watching a lot of the coaching with the other things you mentioned. But I think we have three things: the coaching, the defense, and the depth. But I think in that order.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what moves are made during the season, because that's another game within a game.
Mm-hmm.
All right. You're going to discover some areas where you thought you were better than you originally were, and you're not, and you're going to have to address it via trade, via the free agent market, whatever the case may be. You're going to have to address it, and at least having the financial flexibility, whether it's in money, whether it's in monies, or whether it's in draft capital, and the Celtics have a lot of that. So that's one area I expect them to be able to address. And everybody knows, it's no secret, that they know that they're very thin in the tooth, because they lost Grant Williams, who basically was their sixth man off the bench.
I don't even think he played yesterday.
Did he play?
See him in the
He
game?
played. He played.
Yeah.
Yeah, he played. He started. He actually started. He's a
Did?
starter.
Wow, I
He's
missed
a
that.
starter. No, he's a starter. So it's one of those things that they know, but they got a couple of young guys that are there, and they're gonna see what they have in them before they go out and literally make moves. I don't think you'll see them make moves until unless something becomes available, that they can't obviously that you can't refuse.
Grant Williams
Yeah,
had 17 points and 6 rebounds.
Yeah, that's
A
a good
block
that's a
was
good
like-
game. That's a good game.
Well, I am
That's a good
Steve's
game.
age, and during the game, I do sleep during the game.
But no, he started it, because I remember when the game
35 minutes.
I remember when the game started. I looked and I said, "Hey, he's starting." But yeah, so it just remains. But overall, I think you're gonna see those two teams be the front runners, one or two. You'll see them flop, flip, or whatever the case may be. The difference I see with Milwaukee as opposed to Boston is Milwaukee beats the teams that they're supposed to beat, and Boston sometimes lets the teams that they know that they
Boston
should
closes
beat.
at the end.
Yes.
They'll be winning by 20, and you think, and then somehow they.
What happens is they get 3-point happy,
Mm-hmm.
and they
That's what I
continue.
worried about them bringing
they-
Porzingis, and
they
he's
have-
adding to that
Well,
mix.
but this is Joe Mazzulla. This is his style of ball.
He's forcing it to happen his way.
Yes. This is what he wants, and this is what he's getting. Until it doesn't work, and then he's forced to go another route or be replaced. So we see them as the 1 and 2 teams. I there's no doubt about it. After that, then it gets kind of cloudy.
Yeah.
It gets kind of cloudy. So last year it probably would have been. So who finished third last year? Was it Cleveland? I think it was Cleveland, right?
No, Cleveland was a 4-5
A 4
matchup with the Knicks.
Okay, who was
Before the Knicks were 5.
who was 3?
It wasn't Miami because they were 8.
Was it Philly? No, it
Philly.
wasn't Philly.
I
Was it?
think it had
Okay, yeah, it was Philly.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
so it was
because Philly was 1 and 2
Philly.
with somebody.
Philly is the only team in the East that did not do anything to make themselves better.
And then you got the Harden situation.
Yes, which is even going to be worse.
So I almost
And
took them out of my top 4.
and for them, what's going to be worse is if Harden moves. Now Embiid's going to want to move.
Unless they get something good back.
But what are you going to literally? What are you going to get for Harden?
Maxey plays.
Yeah, and
What are you gonna get
I
for
talked
Harden?
about that at work. That there's no one out there speaking up. I want Harden. There's no
The
press.
Clippers.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah,
I
they
think
don't-
that was kind
he
of.
wants to go there, and they
Well,
want-
no,
I did
no.
talking
They-
heads with the Clippers.
So
I don't
with the
think it's
Clippers, they stopped negotiations. with them. They stopped. They literally stopped negotiations with them. They were like, "Nah, we're good."
Yeah.
They were like, "We're good." He tried everything in his power to go that route, and he was unsuccessful. Sort of like how Dame was trying to make the push for Miami, and they were like, "No, you're not going to tell us where you're going. We're going to send you which best fits us. What we think we can get the maximum amount of trade capital back in return." And I think so. With Philadelphia, I think that if Harden goes, I don't think you're going to get somebody with the somebody who's going to give you 20 and 10.
You don't even have Orlando Magic going after Harden. You have nobody that
No, well, you know
But
what's
they want to develop their young players.
exactly. So you know what the thing is with them is he put his cards out there. Like, listen, I want to go somewhere where I'm going to get a max extension, and no one's going to give him that.
no.
That's first and foremost. And then let's talk about where. So you're known as the perennial postseason choker. Okay, we can go back to your days to Houston. Dating to last year in Game 7 where he just didn't even show up.
Yeah.
How do you go from scoring 40 points in one
45,
game
yeah.
and then you don't even show up for Game 7? And this is what we're talking about. So he not only he helps his own self
Yeah.
and getting devalued because number one, he wants money, and number two, he doesn't show up in the big games. This is the story of his career. He's never been able to perform well in Game 7s.
Yeah.
He's done it in Houston, and he did it in Philadelphia. So
he's had everybody.
yes.
His teammates are unbelievable.
Yeah.
And he couldn't do it.
Yep. So I, Philly, I have them free falling. They'll probably, I don't have them in my top 5.
I had them at 4, but I could easily switch them out with 5.
Yeah, I don't have them in my top 5.
Just because I like Maxey. Still got Harris.
I like, but see, that's another guy who's inconsistent. He's another guy that got paid, and it doesn't match up.
Without Harden there, he might have a more active role.
Yeah, but more active role.
Harris?
He'll shoot more, but he won't be as productive. Because with you got to remember, Harden was a 20 and 10 guy. Where are you going to get those 10? Where are you going to get those 10 assists for you? For crying out loud, he led the league in assists.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So where are you going to account for those 30-something points that you're losing? You'll get more shots at it, but will you be an assist guy? It's going to be tough. And that's why I'm talking about it taking a hit on Embiid, because he's at the point in his career where he wants to win. And no longer is he using the slogan of the process.
Yeah.
He doesn't want him here. No process. The process has been done, gone already. He wants to win and win now.
He's trying to level up in every part of what's good for him.
Well, he's
talking
seeing
about the national team.
He's seeing all these other guys flee and go to other teams and posse up, and he got it one time. And these other teams are getting it 2-3 times, and the teams that are within his own division are even doing it. And why can't I do it? And the team that we've been chasing forever, Boston, seemingly gets better every year, and every year we still can't beat them. It's like that little brother who's constantly slapping the little brother around, saying, "You get out of here, you're too small." And they're the one team. So Philly has $65 million to use. $65 million. $65 million because they don't want to extend them. They're like, no, we're all set. You had your chance to prove. So had he showed up in that Game 7, that would have put him over a little of a hump.
But he still wants to be.
Yeah, well, yeah. And he thinks that he's playing 6-7 years ago. Your numbers are slowly going down, buddy. They're not going up. The only thing that went up was his assists. Other than that, and let's be real about it, his assists went up because you have a big target like Joel Embiid, where you just got to go like this and one pass, and he's going to do the rest for you. As long as he doesn't take more than 2 dribbles, you're going to get that assist. So yeah, $65 million they get a chance to use, and there's no one out there that is worthy enough to give $65 million. So you're going to have to go look out for B and C players. Or who are you even going to package them up with to get a trade? Who?
No, I've been looking for a couple of weeks and I just can't find it.
Yeah. So, Stevie Wonder can't even see it.
No.
So who would be in that 3 spot if you don't got Philly?
So I think Philly's going to take a hit. So I would look for probably Cleveland to make the move while they can. They've got, so I just lost my laptop here.
Miami's lost too much.
Miami has not done anything either. They lost their 2 key guys in Strus and Vincent.
He had a good game.
Strus and Vincent, they lost, and they think they can still do the Belichick thing, scrape from the bottom, and get these guys to continually do the
Yeah.
same things that they've done. You know what? It works sometimes, but I don't think it's going to work again this year. Now you have to have what's his face do a lot more scoring. The guard there. No, the guard, the one
Hero.
Hero.
Yeah.
You have to have him go from 6-man to a starting row.
But he averaged almost 20 a game before he got hurt.
Yeah, but this is the thing. That was 6-man. That was in the 6-man row. So now, where's your bench scoring going to come from? Now everybody's getting elevated 1 or 2 players in. You know, are you going to depend on the kid there that's a twin to possibly his brother played in Charlotte. The kid that's a twin there. He had a good postseason too. He had a great game against Boston in Game 7. Yeah, he's a twin that plays for Miami.
Morris.
No, not him.
Keith and Marcus
No. The light-skinned kid that plays for Miami. My computer just died. And I'm forgetting his name. He's a twin. Both he and his brother play in the NBA. I forget his name. I want to say he had 20 points against Boston in Game 7. Killed him. So now chances are he's going to have to go into one of those positions. You had multiple guys that came off the bench and were able to produce at an alarming rate. Now your 6th man of the year guy goes to a starting role, and you have to elevate one of those guys into those other positions. And they didn't pick anyone up.
Thompson?
No. They just signed him to a contract. What is his name? I forget his name. Let's see if Barry knows. Barry, if you're listening, who's the kid that plays for Miami? He's a twin.
Not Duncan Robinson, Caleb
No.
Martin, Thomas Bryant.
Martin.
Oh, he's a twin?
Yes. He played well against the Celtics last year. He killed them in Game 7.
Sure did.
He killed them in Game 7. He had 20 points off the bench. Couldn't miss. Could not miss.
They struggled defending him.
Yeah,
everything.
He had
everything.
steals. He had blocks.
Yep.
Everything. He just was all over the place. So now he gets elevated a spot. So now he'll be in Hero's spot. Okay. They're depending on the local kid, Cole. Well, I won't say they're depending on him, but they're trying to use him as a Duncan Robinson, Cole Swider kid. A good shooter. Kind of like he almost fits the Robinson mold.
Does that make them open to go for Harden?
I don't know, because yes, chemistry.
Yeah.
They're more of the blue collar guys.
Mhm.
Yes, and he's not a defensive guy.
No, he isn't. No.
He's an ole. He plays the ole
Bullfighter.
game, you know. Yeah, they're blue collar. Pat Riley's no nonsense. I believe the longest tenured coach now is the coach at Miami.
Oh, Spoelstra.
Spoelstra's the longest tenured coach now in the league.
Well, no, Popovich.
Oh, Popovich,
And
second youngest, second oldest. But yeah, it's just one of those things. They also didn't do anything. They have a lot of cap room because just think about it. They were trying to get Dame, which is a fortune. So they also have a lot of cap money. They're going to have to try to manufacture something in the way of trades. There's no getting
I didn't
around.
realize Schroeder went to Toronto until last night.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this I just Miami is I'm not afraid of them anymore. And I think that
They got Jimmy Butler.
yeah,
Dan
but
Adebayo.
But see, all these guys are going to have to push their scoring up now.
they're gonna
to
play
make up.
They're gonna play long games. They're gonna be playing.
Him and Hero.
Yeah. Well,
Duncan Robinson has to resort back to 2 years ago. Duncan Robinson.
those guys. So just think about what Vincent and Strauss put up last year. You're talking about in excess of 20 points.
And at key time.
Where is
in the
that?
game.
Yes. Where is that going to come from now?
Yeah, I'm not sure yet.
Hero gets elevated to a starter now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So
candidates to make a move before the trade deadline.
yeah. Well, they have money. Philly has money too, but where you have to make you really. So now here's where your GM becomes your MVP. There's no other way of looking at
He's
it.
a liar though.
there's no other ways of looking at it. Your GM has to become your MVP.
You
And
don't got Philly over Miami, or do you got Miami over Philly?
I think both of those teams are going to take a step back.
And you got Cleveland ahead of both of them.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Cleveland was ahead of
Awesome.
Cleveland was ahead of Miami last
I
year.
wanted to put Cleveland in my top 4, and now I was like,
I think out the gate, I think they're going to do just what they did last year. They're going to come out the gate quick, and maybe they might level up, but I think they're going to come out the gate quicker than both of those other two teams. I think they will.
But they got the talent, and
Yeah.
I expect. You know who I expect to take a leap forward this year for Cleveland is Evan Mobley.
Yeah. Well,
He's got the talent. He has to be more assertive.
my
Just 'cause he's got
sneaky pick for defensive player of the year.
Yeah, he's good.
I think he'll get most improved player of the year. He didn't make the All-Star team last year.
No, he didn't. And
they got Jarrett. What's his name? The other big guy
with the afro.
Yeah,
Yes.
but he's hurt to start the year.
Yeah. I think Mobley is going to step up.
Offensively, we know what he can do.
Yeah. Yeah. I had him as my defensive player of the year. I have so let's just get to that. MVP, I think Joker will be the MVP this year.
Well, I got a big surprise, and it's tied to my prediction.
I know who you're gonna say.
I doubt it.
You doubt it?
Yep.
Is it a guy who made it all? Is there a guy? Is it a guy that made the All Stars last year?
Nope.
He didn't make the All Stars.
Nope.
And he's going to be the MVP.
Yep.
Oh, I gotta hear this.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking,
What's in that water?
I don't think.
Is it vodka?
All right. Our favorite expression: the best availability.
Yep.
Yeah.
The best ability is availability. If everybody stays healthy, I'm going to say Zion.
I see him as probably being most improved.
Yeah.
We already know how good he is.
Yeah, but we've only seen
High
it in
field
short
goal
stints.
percent. Yeah. So if he stays healthy,
Yeah, that's
and the
big if.
Pelicans go to a number 2
That's a big if.
seed. Right now, I got him at number 3. But I think if he stays healthy and keeps his weight down, he has the ability to play at an MVP level. It's a surprise pick, but that's why I'm going with it, because I don't think nobody else is going to say that.
All right, so Joker is what he does consistently throughout the season. There's not many that are going to touch
Triple
him,
doubles.
other than the only one that comes close to him is Embiid, and I don't think Zion can even get Embiid numbers. So how can he be MVP?
My thing is, Joker, every night he goes onto the court, he's a walking triple double.
See, I thought that was going to be the obvious pick, so I was like,
I'm just going to say Joker. I'm saying Joker because I think that he'll be able to pretty much maintain the same type of play that he ended off with, and he'll be able to do it constantly throughout the regular season.
Out of curiosity, who did you think I was thinking about?
I thought you were going to talk about the guard there for Gilchrist. What's his name?
Gilchrist Alexander.
I
That
thought
was
you were
my
gonna
number
say
1
him.
pick.
I thought you were going to.
Did you see his stats last night? I don't think they'll win enough for him to get MVP.
No, you gotta be.
But I think if Zion stays healthy, the Pelicans are in a position to be 2-3, and if they make a massive improvement in the West, which is tough, if they finish second in the West, he's going to be a big reason why. He's going to be the leader.
I enjoy watching him. He's
Yeah,
a good ball player.
Yeah.
So you're both going to say Joker, okay?
Yeah, I see Joker. For me, he's every time he gets on the court, he's a walking triple double. I think that's what sets him apart. I think that's what
I can't argue against Joker.
I think that's what separates him from somebody who's going to score, someone that might have the ability to score 28 points as opposed to his 25 with 10 and 10. It's obviously it's what you do completely, not just in scoring. He's going to bring those added stats to the ballpark in the way of rebounds and assists. I think that's what separates him. And like I said, he's never hurt, and he's consistent. He very rarely does he have lows. It's always, oh yeah, they won or they lost, but Joker ended up with a cool 22, 11 and 9.
Yeah, I like this because he's never always the highest scorer.
No, he isn't.
He's always
He's consistent.
that
But
play
he
of the game, right?
contributes in every category.
He's
Yeah, he sure
consistent.
does.
That's what that's
And
that's
You don't hear about him turning the ball over.
No.
He's a good decision maker too. That's the most underrated part of his game.
well. Do you watch he brings the ball up. They run the offense through
Mhm.
him.
Yeah,
He
he
could do
starts
more
out
stuff
high.
if he wanted to, but he's just more effective doing a little bit of everything.
bounce passes, 3/4 court.
Yeah,
layup.
he starts out high and he runs their offense. I was watching it when they were playing against the Lakers. I'm like, look at this. This guy bringing up the ball.
Mhm.
He starts right at the top of the key. They start running curls, some off action and stuff, and he slips right into it. He slips right into the office, and before you know it, he goes down. He sets a pick low post. He doesn't get it. He pops back up to the elbows and takes a little shot there, or drives and then passes. It's consistent.
Post.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Too big in the finals.
He was
Davis
big.
don't want
he was-
any of that.
Yeah, no. I watched him one play. He just went left, went right, and threw the shoulder in his chest. Got Davis off balance, and boom, he was at the rim.
Yeah.
Negating the shot blocking by just putting his body into him. That's using your body, which you're supposed to do. Any score update?
48-35 Milwaukee. And guess who the two leading scorers are?
Oh, that's easy. Giannis.
12.
Oh, James.
Giannis has 9.
I
James
thought.
said a three-point
No, I
and
thought
one.
I thought you were talking about I was gonna say
Really?
Giannis and obviously Embiid.
Maxi's the leading scorer with 9.
Really? What does Embiid have?
5, Harris 4. Oh no, Kelly Oubre off the bench got 10.
Really?
Leading scorer.
Wow. That was their key acquisition this year, Kelly Oubre.
And he's capable. He's not consistent.
Yeah.
Good two-way
Yeah.
player. His
Yeah.
head has to be in the game. I thought he was overrated coming out of college.
He was.
He hasn't found.
He
his
had
definite niche.
so he. Let's talk about him for 1 second. So you remember his claim to fame was he came in as a rookie when he was playing for Washington, and they played against the Celtics,
Mhm.
and he had 2 good games. And immediately, like all young kids do, he goes on to social media and he starts to rant. This isn't such a hard thing. And what happens? The last 3 games, he flopped. But yeah, he's one of those guys that he thought he was in line for a max contract at the end. And he found out hard that no, I'm not a max guy. But it is what it is.
Even a billionaire Michael Jordan didn't want to give him money.
Where do you guys think Wemby's gonna do this year? How much of an impact? Because we know he's a generational player.
So
How much of a generation?
I think obviously they're not going to make the playoffs. Are they going to improve? I think their win percentage. What did they win? 22 games last year.
Yeah, it was
22 games.
under 30.
I would
Yeah.
put them at maybe plus 12, plus 13.
That's considerable.
Yeah, no.
They need more help.
Yeah. It's going to be one of those things where he's going to be, I think for me, what I'm going to look at is how he progresses. You look at him in his first 10 games, and then you look at him in game 35, 40, and then you look at him, I take the season 3 increments, the beginning, the middle, and the end, and to see how he progresses. You don't want to see him doing what he did in his first 10 games at the last 10 games. All right. You want to see progression. That's all you want to see. And with him, I think he'll have the ability to do a lot because there's no expectations for them.
Mhm.
There's no, okay, you have to do this. Oh yeah. Yeah.
See how good is.
Yeah, no. It's one of those things where you're always going to see people, the camera's always going to be on him. We know that. And it'll always be that way because he is the next great thing. He's the next phenom. He's the next, by the way, he's the next LeBron James, and then some because of his height and his ability and all that stuff. So yeah, he's going to be my rookie of the year.
Yeah,
he's going
to. Charlie?
He's going to be my rookie of the year.
Yeah,
I know where I'm going for rookie of the year.
Yeah, I know you're going with Chet.
Sure.
But I think he's going to have. I think he has the inside track because he has less of a supporting cast.
And that's the thing that I think his numbers will be great, but he'll be on such a losing losing team, not organization, but losing team this year. I think OKC is in position with Gilgeous Alexander, Josh Giddey, a healthy.
Yeah, they're
going to win more,
Yeah.
which is going to shine more light on the fact. But San Antonio, for a horrible team, has got 25 primetime games or something like that because of Wemby.
him.
So we're gonna have to watch them get blown out a lot just to see Wemby. I don't think that's the NBA.
But you got to remember, it was the same way with LeBron. It's marketability. That's all it is. It's
LeBron, was he bad his first year? His team?
No.
I
He
think
improved them. He improved them by 20 something.
But that's what I'm thinking.
They made
They won more
Yes.
than what we're going to see the Spurs win this year.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, you got to remember they're in a loaded West. They're in a loaded West. I mean, they were already at the bottom of the barrel to be able to get him in the first place. They don't have much around him. I don't expect the Spurs to be good for probably 3 years. I think next year they'll put people in place. They'll get incrementally better. And then the third year, I think they'll be ready to, make a leap into the playoffs. It's just that's how it goes. They're starting from the bottom with him. I mean, what's the kid that's the guard? What's his name?
For San Antonio?
Yeah.
For Burnett.
Vassell?
Oh, he's forward.
No, what's the other kid?
Vassell,
Did they trade him?
Yeah,
They traded him.
He went to Atlanta.
What's his name? Like 2 years ago, a year and a half ago. See, I'm still thinking he's there.
Traded to Atlanta.
Yeah, I'm still thinking he's there.
Murray.
DeJounte Murray.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still thinking he's there. I'm forgetting that he got traded.
And I'm the old guy.
But yeah, well, the clock's right 2 times a day, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna call it a night so Steve can get home and watch his guys play.
Past my bedtime.
We know these old men, they have a hard time. We got to keep them close to the bathroom and all that other stuff. So we'll let them go. But as a reminder, remember always to download WMB1 Radio on all platforms, that being Android and Apple. And also, don't forget, we got a comedy show coming up in a few weeks. It's going to be taking place at our new venue. Back in New Bedford at New Bedford, the Whaler Inn and Suites on 500. It's going to be taking place there, and we're going to have an after party there as well. So
I missed those.
Yeah, so we're going to have the vendor market. We're going to have some food there.
Food, yes.
Food, vendor market, food, and we're going to have comedians and, of course, the after party. So it's all under one roof. You got to come and check it out. All right. You got to come and check it out. Plenty of parking, easy off highway. So if you're coming from Boston, if you're coming from Providence, if you're coming from the Cape, right there.
All meet in the same spot. So right off the highway.
That's right. Right there. Plenty of parking. You don't have to worry about it. Unlike White's, you don't have to worry about multiple functions going on.
Yeah.
And walking way across the street. But yeah, so it's going to be a little different. And most importantly, it's in our backyard. Doesn't make a difference where you're coming from. You'll be less than 10 minutes. If you're coming from the South End, if you're coming from the West End, less than 10 minutes.
Yeah.
All right.
You got a new show this week.
That's right. That's right. We got the Frequency, which is going to be airing on Sunday at 7:00. New show with Bert Okada, formerly of the Wind Down Podcast Show. And you got to check him out because he got some new talent coming in. And they make their debut on Sunday here on WMB1 Radio. It'll all be happening Sunday at 7 p.m. And also don't forget DJ Edward Blends All Nation Show on Saturday. All right. Because Eddie does a great job, and we'd be remiss if we didn't mention him. All Nation Show.
Glad he's back.
Yes, All Nation Show on Saturday from 9 to midnight. And then on Sunday, you can also catch the Frequency live on 7 p.m. All right. With that being said, we are going to sign off, and we hope everybody enjoys their night. We've obviously went way over our time, it being 8:20, but we will see you next week, and we'll be back with some more news. All right. So everybody have a good night, and we'll see you soon on WNB1 Radio.
Good night.
Have you made that New Year's resolution to get into shape and you still haven't followed through with it? Then you need to join KO Gym.
The champ is here! The champ is here! The champ is here!
KO Gym is located at 50 Conduit Street in the north end of New Bedford, within the historic mills in a 5,000 square foot space, within plenty of room to train for social distancing, and the facility has unlimited parking outside. KO Gym offers exclusive training in Muay Thai, kickboxing, boxing, grappling, jiu-jitsu, as well as strength and conditioning programs. So if you're looking to train to get into shape to train for self-defense, or if you're looking to train to compete professionally, KO Gym has experienced professional staff to help you obtain your goal. They also offer one-on-one personal training as well as group classes to satisfy everyone's needs. So go ahead and let KO Gym help you make that change for a healthy body and a healthy mind. And also tell them that WMB1 Radio made the referral for you.